his eye. I didn't say, what are you looking so sad about, Jack?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean? What I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time in my career, I was on a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
You've been on the tour.
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. And salute to everyone. And welcome to another episode of Cat Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, the most overrated and underrated boxers of all time. Has the family today. It's hump day. Getting ready to go downhill toward the weekend and some more live boxing. We got 4 or 5 fights this weekend. No big names, but it's boxing. But today we're going to talk about some of the most overrated and underrated fighters that's ever been in the game. For the overrated AI, artificial intelligence, did a listing. We're going to go by that. Pretty good list. And I'm going to tell you why they were overrated. And then we got like 25 underrated fighters. And at the end of after this, we're going to talk about Michael Spinks, why he was so underrated, because the main reason was because most people, especially casual fans, only remember Michael Spinks from that 91-second demolition to Mike Tyson, okay? But he was a great champion in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay, the 80s was one of the best decades of all for light heavyweights, and Michael Spinks was at the top. Undisputed light heavyweight champion early to mid 80s. But a lot of people remember him from his last fight, that 91-second loss when Mike Tyson destroyed him. Okay, a little over, what is it, like a minute and 31 seconds. Yeah, Michael Spinks destroyed him. And that's why, Mike Tyson destroyed Spinks, and that's why he's so underrated. We're going to address him at the end of the show. But how's everybody today? Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow, of course, the Boxing in the States series continues with Vermont. And then Friday, we're going to do a profile on the Galveston Giant, the life and career of Jack Johnson. Okay? But today, the most overrated and underrated fighters of all time. And for the highlights of boxing history today, we're going to look at 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time, okay? 12 of the dirtiest fighters in boxing history. And there might be a few surprises on there, but yeah. And they all were champions. Mm-hmm. And some of their signature moves were dirty moves, okay? That's going to be the highlights of boxing history today. But welcome to another afternoon of Cash Sports, 2 p.m., 2 o'clock Shorty. That's one of my names. Okay, the box story. Boxing history, 2 to 4 every day. All things boxing history. Okay? Because anything you love, like we love boxing, knowing the history of it only makes it better. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, we're going to look at, might probably see some surprises in these dirty fighters. But let's get into that first. The highlights of boxing history. 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time. Okay, that's going to take us down to 2:30. And we start the main subject of the show. So without further ado, highlights of boxing history. 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time. Yeah, there's Floyd. That was one of his signature moves, that forearm elbow. Caught Sugar Shane. Floyd, did Sugar Shane suffer a broken nose in that fight? Wow, if he didn't, it's amazing he didn't, because that could have did it right there. Look at that. Floyd did that a lot. Okay. The old elbow to the noggin. But highlights of boxing history. 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time. Now, for this list, we overlook the champions who fouled irregularly, or primarily in the heat of battle, or were more rough than dirty, or were lousy at it, okay? Marco Antonio Barrera, Wilfredo Gomez, Roberto Duran, Sonny Liston, Terry Norris, Rocky Marciano, Ricky Hatton, Mike Tyson. A case can be made for all of them to be on this list, and many others. But for a definitive list of dirty champions, we focus on the ones who, with cold calculation, made it an important part of their ring success. To be truly dirty is to be practiced and deliberate, and for the most part, to get away with it. First, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Not to take away from his greatness, but Floyd had that was one of his signature moves right there, the old elbow to the noggin, to the nose. Floyd Mayweather Jr. makes the dirty fighters list. Now, the inclusion of the erstwhile pretty boy on this list may surprise some, but the fact is, Floyd owes much of his success to his excellent infighting technique which involves the illegal use of his elbows and forearms. And that one right there, that's a combination. The old elbow-forearm combination. See it? In fact, Floyd's skills in this particular department were so adept that he rarely received warnings and was never subject to a point deduction. Never had a point deducted for their elbow-forearm move. And yet, many opponents have made reference to this aspect of Floyd's game, and some openly called him a dirty fighter. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Next, on the dirty fighters list, Joel Casamayor. That's Joel on the right there, Joel Casamayor. Now let's have Mr. Toothbrush speak for himself. Boxing is dirty, period. The day I'm not ready to be a dirty fighter is the day I don't fight, because it will mean I have no heart for it anymore, as quoted by Michael Katz in 2006. A rapid punch specialist, Casamayor was also adept at low blows and headbutts, and once kneed Diego Corrales in the groin and got away with it. Joel Casamayor. Evander Holyfield. And he was famous for one of the best at using that head. Evander Holyfield and Gene Fullmer. Now these champions are paired together because both deserve to be on the list for the same reason. Their unique talent for utilizing their cranium as a third fist. Both Fullmer and Holyfield were rough and ready warriors who preferred slugging it out and getting as physical as possible. This meant their heads regularly collided with their opponent's skulls or faces, but in such a way that the contact, if it were noticed, looked accidental. Now call us jaded, but we just don't believe this was always the case, okay? And this is Hassim Rockman in 2002, courtesy of Evander Holyfield's cement head. Okay, that's what he did to Hassim with his head when he fought him. Look at that. Evander Holyfield makes the grade for the dirty fighters list. Next, we go back a ways. Ad Walgast. Ad Walgast. There's Ad. No list of dirty fighters, let alone champions, is complete without the Michigan Wildcat, who was famed for his inability to resist burying his fist in his opponent's nether regions, okay? An adversary's groin may as well have had a target painted on it. Such was Walgast's enthusiasm for going to town on the old wedding tackle. Disqualified at least 4 times, including a defeat to Willie Ritchie in 1912, which cost him his world lightweight title. Walgast was known far and wide as one of the sport's dirtiest practitioners. Ad Walgast. There's B-Hop. We're talking about dirty fighters. Bernard Hopkins. We got 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time for the highlights of boxing history today. Bernard Hopkins makes the grade. First, he was the executioner, and later he became the alien. In fact, he could have been called the low blow, headbutt, hold and hit, play acting, jetty master. And that would have been as apt as Hopkins was a latter-day wizard at mixing foul and borderline foul practices into his technique. He openly discussed the importance of manipulating referees and how by employing dirty tactics and getting away with it, he gained a psychological advantage over his opponent. Few of his opponents did not complain about Bernard's penchant for employing the darker arts of ringcraft, and there's no doubt it played a significant role in some of his most notable performances, but he rarely suffered a point deduction and was never disqualified. Yeah, B-Hop was good at it. He was good at it. Eusebio Pedraza. We're talking about, we got 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time. Eusebio Pedraza. There's Eusebio on the left. Eusebio Pedraza. An aspiring dirty fighter could learn so much by studying Pedraza's 1982 title defense against Juan Laporte. In terms of flagrant and frequent fouling, it's a masterclass. Kidney punches, hitting on the break, low blows, elbows, holding and hitting, punching after the bell. Pedraza could do it all, and often did. But despite receiving numerous warnings and point deductions, he still managed to rack up 19 straight title defenses of his world featherweight title. Eusebio. Sandy Sadler. Thought about some of the dirtiest fighters of all time. Sandy Sadler makes the grade. There are generally two kinds of dirty fighters: those who cop to the charge and those who are indignant in the face of the accusation. Count Sadler among the latter. For him, being called dirty was unfair and insulting, and he refused to accept it, which is comical given what everyone saw him do in various fights. But this had much to do with Sadler's particular approach to indulging in dirty pool, which essentially boiled down to, he started it, Sandy Sadler. Sadler could and did compete within the statutes of the ring, but the second an opponent did anything real or imagined, which he regarded as not kosher, the entire rule book went out the window. This happened on a regular basis, and thus Sadler became a certified expert at butting, heeling, elbowing, gouging, lacing the eyes, or simply grabbing an opponent in a headlock and throwing the poor guy to the floor. Sadler's clashes with Willie Pep, who is regarded as a tricky but not dirty pugilist, are among the filthiest title fights in boxing history. Yeah, their fourth fight was called the dirtiest fight in boxing history, Sandy Sadler and Willie Pep. Ray Patterson, straight out of New Jersey. What's up, RP? How are you today? We're starting out with the boxing history, highlights of boxing history with some of the dirtiest fighters of all time, 12 of them, okay? Nakes, but salute, RP. Good to see you today, bro. Nakes, battling Nelson. And there's him against another, that's Ad Walgas on the right. We already covered him. Two dirty fighters, that's battling Nelson on the left. Battling Nelson, like so many rough and tumble brawlers of his era, including his own nemesis, Walgas, Nelson paid little attention to the rules once the bell rang. Reckless and vicious, he rushed forward, ripping into his opponents, smashing away with everything he had and using whatever tactics might help get the job done. Elbows to the face and hard punches to the groin area, right, were standard practice for Nelson. Indeed, his most famous fight, a showdown with the great Joe Gans, ended when Nelson, knowing he was about to lose, intentionally drilled Joe right in the crown jewels, and the durable Dane was promptly disqualified. Battling Nelson. Okay. The great Harry Grab. Yeah, Harry was not a going beyond the rules. Excuse me. There's Harry. Harry Grab makes the list for the dirty fighter. Mike Rem, salute. What's up, Mike? Starting out today with the highlights of boxing history. We had 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time. And I've talked about Harry Greb before. He was great and everything, but he was also dirty. Let's talk about it. Harry Greb, the Pittsburgh Windmill. There can be no doubt that the Pittsburgh Windmill and Smoke City Wildcat will forever be regarded as one of the greatest pugilists who ever lived. And while some disagree and call it a bad rap, it is likely he will always rank high on any list of dirty fighters. Greb's style was to swarm and overwhelm his opponent. And in the midst of a full set of legal blows, there were often more than a few illegal ones. Few expected Greb to fight clean, so referees usually just shrugged their shoulders and watched the carnage unfold. In fact, when Harry wasn't ignoring the referee, he was known to intimidate officials, yelling at them when they tried to intervene or break a clinch. Greb loved clinches. Within their close confines, he did some of his deadliest work, while each time an opponent found himself in a desperate embrace with the Pittsburgh Windmill. It must have felt like creeping death. Elbows, thumbs, headbutts, laces, all part of the arsenal employed by perhaps the greatest middleweight in boxing history, and the dirtiest, the great Harry Greb. Now you can't make a dirty fighter's list without this guy on it. No way. Like I always say, it would be criminal without Antonio Margarito on it. And some of the stuff he was doing was borderline criminal, okay? Antonio Margarito. Yeah. That's the fight where he got caught before the Sugar Shane fight. And Sugar Shane destroyed him because Antonio didn't have those gloves, didn't have those hand wraps doctored up for this fight. And he got destroyed. Antonio Margarito. We could remember Shane Mosley's, Nassim Richardson, Shane Mosley's trainer, was watching him wrap his hands and didn't disagree with it and made him re-wrap them. And they found that cement mixture in there, that type of mixture that gets harder as the fight goes on. That's why always later in fights, Margarito's power picked up, right? Because the longer the fight went and that mixture, whatever had in there got moist, it got harder, okay? There is no more heinous crime in boxing than loading the gloves or hand wraps. In doing so, a boxer effectively removes himself from the realm of sport and enters the domain of criminality. Boxing is already dangerous enough. Inserting plaster in the gloves or hand wraps takes it to another level. Such an act should disqualify a boxer from ever competing again. Welterweight champion Antonio Margarito holds a unique place in boxing history. He's the only world titleist to ever be caught loading his fists, attempting to carry lethal weapons into the ring with him. Theoretically, it's possible he was not aware his trainer, Javier Capetillo, had inserted a tampered knuckle pad into his wrap before his fight with Shane Mosley, but we don't buy it. And theoretically, it's possible that this never took place before. That one could have found only tape, gauze, and fists inside his boxing gloves in all of his previous fights. But it's difficult for us to check our brains at the door and give Margarito the benefit of the doubt. He was loading them all the time. Especially when he almost removed Sebastian Lujan's left ear from his head back in 2008. Especially when his corner man can be heard telling him after round 6 of his first fight with Miguel Cotto, your punches should be hard by now. That's what his trainer said to him in the corner. Your punches should be hard by now, indicating that their mixture was getting wet and hardening, okay? That's what his trainer said. Your punches should be hard by now. Especially after no one could adequately explain the visible damage to the surface of Margarito's hand wraps following the fight with Cotto. damage that was consistent with something inside of them being rock hard. Add in the fact that following his being caught, Margarito's vaunted punching power evaporated, and he never came close to seriously hurting, let alone disfiguring an opponent ever again. And we are satisfied enough to rank him as one of the top 3 dirtiest champions of all time. Antonio Margarito, one of the top 3 dirtiest of all time. Number 2, you got to really be bad to be in front of Margarito. Be worse than him. But Mysterious Billy Smith, number 2. Originally from Nova Scotia, Canada, Smith was viewed in his heyday as the dirtiest prize fighter alive. Before embarking on his boxing career, Smith had been a longshoreman, working the docks and getting into plenty of fights. No doubt, he learned some cruel tricks when brawling with some of those burly dock workers. Battling his way through the welterweight ranks, he openly butted, stomped on opponents' feet, struck with his knees and elbows, and was known, when desperate, to put his incisors to use. He won the welterweight crown twice, and for his ability and ruggedness was highly regarded, despite his dirty tactics. His record boasts battles with such warriors as young Peter Jackson, Tommy Ryan, and the great Joe Walcott. First was Barbados Joe Walcott, whom he fought 6 times and defeated for the world title. Fully half his 22 losses were by disqualification. 11 disqualifications. Though no doubt, much of the time, Smith was getting away with illegal tactics and leaving a trail of busted noses, damaged larynxes, damaged throats, and swollen family jewels, in his wake. As the famous Police Gazette stated, no one will dispute Mysterious Billy Smith's right to the distinction of being the most foul, dirty, and tricky fighter that the American ring today can boast of. And number 1 dirtiest fighter of all time, Fritzy Zivik. We go way back to the old days. Fritzy Zivik. Yeah, Fritzy. Now, the ultimate scoundrel of the ring. If other champs are dirty, Zivik was absolutely filthy. Resilient, clever, and hard to hit, Fritzy lacked power and decided to make up for it with an unequal skill for butting, gouging, lacing, elbowing, kneeing, choking, and any other wicked act he could think of. Competing in the 1930s and 40s, a time when jaded referees were known to regularly turn a blind eye to such things, Zivik both got away with and prospered from his talent for violating the rules. And while reviled, he was also revered as a true master of his particular brand of pugilism. Okay, there you have it. The dirtiest fighters of all time. But both Sugar Ray Robinson and Billy Conn stated that no one taught them more about what was possible in the ring than Zivik. And the great Henry Armstrong, who dropped 2 fights to the crow comment, admitted he had little reply to Zivik's thumbing and gouging and feared he might go blind from it. Meanwhile, Fritzy was not the least bit apologetic. For him, fouling was part of the game, and the fact he was condemned by all quarters didn't bother him in the least. "You're fighting," he once famously said when asked about his penchant for dirty play. "You're not playing the piano." There you have it. 12 of the dirtiest fighters of all time. Fritzy said, "You're fighting. You're not playing the piano." Okay, let's get to today's show. Look at that, 229. Worked out perfectly. Highlights of boxing history supposed to take us to 230, and it did. Okay, some of the most overrated and underrated fighters of all time. Okay, we're gonna start with the most overrated. Okay, this was a ranking done by AI, artificial intelligence, and it's a pretty good ranking. So we're gonna take a look at that. It's 10 of the most overrated boxes in history. Okay, it has everybody today. Like for a couple more hours of boxing history. History of Ricky Hatton, Deontay Wilder, and Butterbean. Butterbean wasn't even a real fighter, was he? But he makes the list. Half of the people, 95% of the people on his resume never been heard of, but he still was one of the most overrated fighters of all time. Okay. Now, the world of boxing has seen some of the greatest athletes the sport has ever seen compete in the ring, with the likes of Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. Just a few names on a list of greats to grace the boxing ring with their presence. However, while there are some who can and cannot be argued as greats of the sport, there are others who split opinion and cause debate about their abilities in the ring, with fans labeling them as overrated. Now, while that is down to personal opinion in most cases, AI has listed who it thinks are the most overrated boxers in history. Okay, let's take a look at it. Eric Esch. Oh, Butterbean. Butterbean. There he is. Okay. Excuse me for a minute. Okay, Butterbean. What's going on in the chat? Anything? No. Okay. Now, while Butterbean held an impressive record, many came against low-grade opposition who were boxing journeymen or largely unknown names in 4-round fights. Arguably, his most notable opponent came in the form of Peter McNeely. But take a look at the list of opponents that's faced over his near 20-year career. There are few names that boxing fans would even recognize. While also looking at his April 1997 fight with Bill Duncan, who was suspended by Oklahoma Boxing Commission for taking an apparent dive in that fight. Now, while AI names Butterbean as an entertaining boxer, it highlights his lack of stamina as a reason for his inclusion on the list, as well as his lack of competitive fights against recognized fighters. Okay? Might get some surprises. This is the overrated list here. We're looking at the most overrated and underrated today. This is the overrated portion of it. Okay. Okay, we're back. I dropped the music down a little bit. Told you it comes up on its own. Okay, next on the overrated list is Zab Judah. Zab Judah. Okay. Now, Zab was 44 wins, 10 losses, 2 draws. Butterbean was 77 wins, 10 losses, 4 draws. Okay, Zab, 44 wins, 10 losses, 2 draws. Let's talk about Zab, why he was overrated. Now, Zab Judah was a name who was tipped to go all the way to the top, but failed to do so, with inconsistent performances in some of his biggest fights against names like Floyd Mayweather Jr. Judah competed for over 20 years, but after so much promise, he never reached that potential and stopped being labeled as the contender he once was. One of his most memorable moments came in 2001 for all the wrong reasons, when he seemed to melt down, pushing a referee following a loss to Kostya Tszyu. Those inconsistent showings were the reason for AI to name Judah on this list. D for the win. What's up, D for the win? How are you, bro? We're looking at some of the Most overrated and underrated boxers in history. Looking at the underrated boxers first. Okay, so far we had Butterbean and Zab Judah. 95% of the names on Butterbean's resume, the average hardcore boxing fans wouldn't even recognize, okay? But next, Andrew Galata on the overrated list. Andrew Galata. Here he is. Oh, I'm sorry. Zab. Yeah, Zab, he just didn't, he came in, he was really, they tipped to go all the way to the top, but he failed to do so. He had a lot of inconsistent performances in some of his biggest fights, like Floyd and Costa Tszyu. He had a meltdown against Costa, remember? Pushed the referee and all of that. So, yeah, that's primarily the reason. Inconsistency was primarily the reason that Zab made the grade, yeah. Andrew Galata. Andrew was 41-9 with one draw, okay? Now, Polish boxer, Andrew Galata, he was an Olympic bronze medalist. And upon beginning his boxing career, his pro career, he skyrocketed through the ranks with a record of 28-0 out the gate, 28-0. That promise shown by Galata was rewarded with a fight against Riddick Bowe, where he was disqualified for a low blow, okay? Now, AI highlights Galata's lack of composure and discipline, which was on display once again when he was granted an immediate rematch with Bowe. He was once again disqualified for a low blow, okay? So lack of composure and discipline puts Galata on the list of overrated fighters. Gentleman Jerry Cooney makes it. It's gentleman jury against Larry Holmes. The jury had a 28-3 record though. Let's see why jury's on here. The Great White Hope pulled off some big wins throughout his career, but with no title wins in that career. Cooney struggled against some of boxing's elites, which AI recognized, noting his powerful left hook. As AI stated, Cooney could not hang with some of the division's most skilled fighters, which included the likes of Lennox Lewis and George Foreman. Yeah, his bigger fights, he kind of like faded at them. That's what made Jury overrated, Holmes, Lennox Lewis, Foreman, Michael Spinks. Yeah, he couldn't beat any of the big names. Jury couldn't. He beat a couple. Now he beat Ken Norton and Ron Lau, but for the most part, he always came up short against the big names. That made him a little overrated. Mrs. Just Do. Salute Mrs. Just Do. Peace and blessings straight back to you. How are you today? That's from the Just Do boxing family. Salute Mrs. Just Do. Always good to see you. We're talking about some of the overrated fighters right now. Some of the most overrated in boxing history. Victor Ortiz. There's that fight against Floyd. He should have been on Dirtiest Fighters list too. Victor should have. He could have very easily been on that. Yeah, Victor Ortiz overrated. Now he had a 33 wins, 7 losses, 3 draws during his career. Now Ortiz was another name who AI stated as having mental lapses in the ring after he picked up the WBC welterweight title in a win over Andre Berto. His reward for that was a huge fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr., where his loss was a complete embarrassment, which saw Ortiz decide to headbutt Floyd. And then, the referee stopped it. I think he took a point from Victor. Once the fight had been restarted, Ortiz decided to apologize to Floyd, lowered his hands, and Floyd clocked him with a combination and ended the fight. And Ortiz is on this list because his inconsistencies in big fights, okay? Inconsistencies in big fights. It's the same reason for Jerry Cooney, okay? We could put Zab in that category too. It's the big name. Or, yeah. But yeah, Victor Ortiz, inconsistency in big fights. Tommy Morrison, way overrated. Tommy Morrison. But he did win 48 fights with 3 losses and 1 draw. Now, the Duke picked up a memorable victory over George Foreman during his career as a much-loved heavyweight. That was in George's second career. Now, Pinklon Thomas once claimed that Morrison hit harder than Mike Tyson, right? He had an 87.5% knockout percentage. 42 knockouts and 48 wins, but I ain't saying all that hit harder than Mike Tyson. But he had 87.5 for knockout rate. He had some pop. That title victory over Foreman came by unanimous decision. But despite his exciting repertoire, AI highlights Morrison's defense as a weakness in his game, along with his questionable chin. Yeah, he had weak defense and had a terrible chin. Yeah, Tommy Morrison. Ricky Hatton, overrated. Ricky the Hitman Hatton. Thomas Hearns was his idol. Now, Ricky won 45, only lost 3 fights. The British brawler had 32 knockouts on his resume, but his ring ability did not translate well to an elite level in the world of boxing. He is still, however, one of the most successful British boxers of all time, and he ranks in the top 5 pound for pound of British boxers. Now, AI labeled Hatton's one-dimensional boxing style as part of why he makes this list of being overrated. His record does not bode well against elite competition either, losing to 2 of boxing's best, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, before retirement. Hatton returns from retirement to take on Vyacheslav Senchenko, but a 9th round loss left Hatton admitting he didn't have what it took to compete anymore. The Hitman makes the overrated list. Yeah, this guy here belongs on here. Prince Nassim Hamed. Yeah. Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, T Hill? The closer, Thomas Hill. We talking about some of the overrated guys right now, T Hill. Down to only had 10 of them, but I got a lot more underrated. I got like 25 underrated guys. And we got a special piece on Michael Spinks, why he was so underrated. I told you, because most people, especially casual fans, just remember that last fight when he got destroyed by Mike Tyson. That's why Mike is so underrated to Spinks, but he had a great career before that. Had no business in there against Mike Tyson. Michael Spinks was really a light heavyweight, Mike Tyson was destroying big 240, 50-pound guys. Michael Spinks was a 175-pounder, bulked up to 200 in there with Mike Tyson. They got destroyed in 91 seconds. That's what most people remember about him. That's why he's so underrated. But we're going to talk about it after we do the overrated guys. Yeah, got a nice piece on Michael Spinks. Okay. Yeah, Prince Hassim belongs on here. As a matter of fact, I think he's number 2. Number 3. Third most overrated. But now his record was 36 wins and 1 loss. Let's talk about it. A huge star in the 1990s, holding multiple world titles in the featherweight division, and a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. The Prince is a controversial inclusion to this list. However, AI names Hamed for his lack of longevity after he decided to retire at just 28 years old, which it highlighted as a lack of ambition for the featherweight great. It also stated that he failed to bounce back from a loss to Marco Antonio Barrera, despite the fact he did beat Manuel Calvo for the belt. Yeah, retired at 28. That's one reason he's on here. Left too early, and that showed a lack of ambition. Okay. So yeah, the Prince makes it. At number 2, we have, Deontay Wilder. One-dimensional, Deontay Wilder. The Bronx Bomber, what is he, like 4? I don't have his record, but he's like 43. No, he got like 4 losses now. He had 2 to Fury. He had the one to Joe Parker and Zhang. So I know he got 4 and he got that draw with Fury. I think he won about 43. Might be accurate. 43, 4-1. Now the Bronze Bomber has an insurmountable amount of power, which even his name alone carries in the world of boxing. However, AI states that he heavily relies on that power, labeling him as a one-dimensional fighter. If it isn't broken, don't fix it, is what they say a lot of the time. And you could argue that was the case for a while, who boasted 42 knockouts from his 43 wins in his career. Now, hard times have fallen upon the American recently, whose defeats have seen names like Tyson Fury, Joe Parker, Zhilei Zhang, and some people, his inner circle, have pleaded with him to retire before tarnishing his legacy. Yeah, I think he got a fight coming up, don't he? But yeah, the Bronze Bomber has he made a lot of money. You know, one of the most powerful guys ever. That right hand. Go ahead and retire, Bronze Bomber. Frank Jaeger. Yeah, Frank Floyd was number 1. You missed it, Frank. Floyd was at the top of the list. Wait a minute. Well, Floyd was on the Dirty Fighters list. Yeah. But salute Frank Jaeger. Frank says, Floyd Mayweather is overrated for me. He ducked well below the waist countless times in his fights and got away with it. I agree, because Floyd fought a lot of fighters at the opportune time. You have a point there, Frank. Yeah. He did fight a lot of fighters at the opportune time. You know, a lot of fighters he didn't fight when the fans would have liked to see him face him. He didn't fight Paul Williams. I think that would have been a matchup nightmare for Floyd, Paul Williams. Yeah. But yeah, you have a point there, Frank Jaeger. But salute. Good to see you today, bro. Okay. Adrian Broner. Yep. Adrian Broner makes it. Now, AB, 35-5, 1 draw, 1 no contest. Now, Adrian Broner was once tipped to be one of the next all-time greats in boxing, with some calling him the next Floyd Mayweather, right? Now, despite picking up 4 championships in his career, AB could not deliver on that promise that he showed early in his career, struggling against some of the elites in the sport. Now, AI did not entirely label that as the reason for AB's inclusion on this list, but instead, the lifestyle distractions and legal issues that plagued his career, hampering his growth in the sport and ending his potential. Yeah, AB had endless potential, but never lived up to it. Makes him overrated. Okay, let's go to the underrated people. Okay, we're now going to look at some of the underrated boxers. Got some from back in the day, back in the old days. Okay, some underrated guys. And remember, we got a piece on Michael Spinks. Why he was so underrated. Very underrated fighter. But I told you that last performance against Mike Tyson is what a lot of people remember, especially casual fans. Because that's a lot of casual fans, that's the only fight they saw Michael Spinks in, was Mike Tyson. Because Mike Tyson was, you know, the big name back around that time. And, you know, everybody watched Mike Tyson. A lot of people, was the only fight they ever saw Michael Spinks was against Tyson. And that's what a lot of people remember him from. That 91-second demolition. Crush the Legend in the building. What's up, Crush the Legend? 6 o'clock a.m. with the coffee and the donuts segment. Fire podcast. Salute, Crush. We talked about some overrated guys. Now we're going to talk about some underrated fighters. Okay? Today. Crush the Legend from the STN. The Sports Talk Network. Okay, doing big things in these YouTube boxing streets, man. Yeah. You don't know about that Sports Talk Network, you better get down with it, because they got some great podcasts in that organization. Mm-hmm. Crush the Legend went up. Okay, let's go. We're going to talk about some of the most underrated boxers of all time now. Okay, jump right into it. Because we go back a ways. Bob Fitzsimmons. Start out in the old days and come forward. Bob Fitzsimmons. There's Bob. Now, Bob Fitzsimmons has an official box record of 65 wins, 8 losses, okay? 7 draws, 4 no contests, 59 knockouts. Okay, that's a pretty good knockout rate. Let's see what that is. You know, I can't let a knockout rate go by without checking. That's 90.7%. Might round it off to 91%. 91%. Mike Mazik in the building. What's up, Mike Mazik? Salute. Okay. Yeah, Bob Fitzsimmons. But, you know, but for a professional career, 65, 8, 7, and 4. But with a professional career that began during the 1880s, there's no way to really know for sure how many fights he actually fought in, right? Because record keeping was a little sketchy back around that time. What is a matter of historical record is he was the first man to hold world titles in 3 weight classes: middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. Now, prior to Roy Jones beating John Ruiz for the WBA strap in March of 2003, Fitzsimmons was the only middleweight champion ever to go all the way up and take the world title from the big boys. And Fitzsimmons was the only one to go straight from middleweight to heavyweight and do it. Remember, Roy went from middleweight, stopped at super middleweight, and some other divisions before he went to heavyweight. Fitzsimmons went straight from middleweight to heavyweight, okay? Now, you rarely see Fitzsimmons' name high up on pound for pound list, okay? Rarely do you see that. It's just too hard to know what to do for a fighter who fought in a radically different era and often under an older set of rules. But there's no doubt that during the height of his career, Fitzsimmons routinely beat the biggest and best opponents in the world during his era. So yeah, Bob Fitzsimmons, very underrated fighter. Yeah, I told you the music comes up on its own, man. I didn't turn it up, it just jumped up. But I can turn it down or not. Stay with me for a moment. We're talking about the underrated fighters. Is that too loud? I had to go back in the other room today, T Hill, away from that main box because we was getting some work done out there. And they left right at 1 minute to 2, but I said, I'm back here, I'll stay back here. So hopefully we can make it through it without going out. But I'm away from the main box again today, T Hill. Didn't have no choice, it was working. Now, underrated, George Dixon. George Dixon, we back in the old days. Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more in the building. What's up, Bruce Gas? We're talking about some underrated fighters now, Bruce. Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. Another fire podcast in these YouTube streets. You talk about boxing history. Bruce Gas. That's where the box historian goes to get his boxing history, okay? That's how bad Bruce Gas is with it, with this boxing history. All things boxing, really. History now, whenever. But salute Bruce Gas. George Dixon, talking about some underrated fighters. Now, the official record for George Dixon is 65 wins, 29 losses, right? 52 draws. But fighters from Dixon's era like Fitzsimmons are still part of folk hero. And most likely, Dixon earned at least part of their living doing tours and performing exhibition fights. There's been written estimates of Dixon having over 800 total fights. I told you record was kind of sketchy back then. But there's records of him having over 800 fights, okay? George Dixon. Now, Dixon was highly regarded by writers and fans of his era. Ring Magazine founder Nat Fleischer ranked Dixon as the #1 bantamweight of all time. That's high praise. Nat Fleischer. Now, the excellent biography on Cox's Corner gives a bunch of it cited quotations that make Dixon sound like a potential top 5 or 10 of all time. Okay, George Dixon, very underrated fighter. The old master, Joe Gans. That's my homeboy there from Baltimore, Maryland. The old master, Joe Gans. Now, Joe Gans' record was 145 wins, 10 losses, and 16 draws. In the 100 Knockout Club, had a 100 knockouts on the dot, right? And many of Gans' fights went over 20 rounds. Think about that, over almost 200 fights, and many of them over 20 rounds. On September 3rd, 1906, he beat Battling Nelson by disqualification after 42 rounds. And get this, Gans broke his right hand in the 33rd round. He fought the last 9 rounds with a broken hand, okay, and still won. Gans was the world lightweight champion for much of the first decade of the 20th century. He once fought the very tough Dave Holly in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Then took an overnight train to Boston and battled fellow immortal Sam Langford the very next day. Okay, the very next day. And those were no slouches. Dave Holly and Sam Langford, 2 top names from that period. They fought them back-to-back days. Okay. Now, contemporary descriptions make Gans sound like another fighter who has to get serious consideration for the top 5 of all time. He fought the last 2 years of his career after being diagnosed with tuberculosis. Fought on for 2 more years after that diagnosis. Talking about some underrated fighters, the great Harry Greb. All the acclaim he gets, still underrated. Okay, Harry Greb, still underrated. Okay, Bruce Gas says, okay, here's a little history for you. On May 7th, 2005, Diego Corrales won the fight of the year against Jose Luis Castillo. Exactly 2 years later, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. Wow. Okay, I told you. That's just a sampling of what you get over there on Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Exactly 2 years later from the fight, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. Wow. Thank you for that, Bruce Gas. Okay, appreciate it. All right. You're the great Harry Greb. Yeah, but that tell you, check it out. Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Harry Greb. Now, BoxRec has Harry Greb's newspaper decisions record listed as 157 wins, 12 losses, and 14 draws, right? Now, it is believed by most boxing historians that he may have had around 300 fights total, okay? Around 300 total. Because he fought back in an era where, like Gans and Fitzsimmons, a little later, but still records were kind of sketchy, So it's rumored that Gans had around 300 fights. Now, like Joe Gans from just before him, Greb gets his share of top 5 all-time run from boxing writers who give a high evaluation to his era. But there's virtually no existing footage of him, and he often gets overlooked in conversation that attempt to compare fighters across eras. No footage of Greb at all. He is unquestionably on the short list with Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Robinson, and King Carlos Monzon for the greatest middleweight ever. Okay? His rival and near contemporary Tiger Flower should get consideration too as the greatest middleweight. Tiger's on this underrated list. Yeah, Harry is up there. We're talking great middleweights, Hagler, King Carlos Monzon. Yeah, Harry Greb is right there with them. No doubt about it. Greb's pound-for-pound credibility is beyond a reproach. He handed future heavyweight champion Gene Tunney the only loss of his career. Okay? And there is Tiger Flowers, great middleweight from back in the day. Tiger Flowers. We started way back, we're going to come forward. And Thomas Hill says, yeah, the fight was the ish that history is made of. The 2 years later was the saddest story ever told. Yeah. And Bruce said 2 years to the day, man. Wow, that's crazy, ain't it? 2 years exactly. Killed in a motorcycle accident after that great fight. But Tiger Flowers. Now, Tiger Flowers, 103 wins. This thing keeps jumping on me, man. Okay, 103 wins, 15 losses, 7 draws. Now, Tiger Flowers was the first African-American middleweight champion, earning the title by defeating Harry Greb. Flowers is another fighter that gets overlooked due to the passage of time. Now, this well-thought-out list has Tiger's number 10, with a good discussion of why he is not higher, citing his 10 losses by stoppage. Yeah, he got stopped 10 times. Still, Tiger also seems to have lost some fights by questionable decisions, a common problem faced by black fighters of his era, right? Ultimately, like many of the old-time fighters, writers and fans alike ultimately underrate Tiger, at least a little. Tiger Flowers, the great Sam Langford, the greatest fighter to never win a title, Sam Langford. Greatest fighter to never win a title. Now, to the serious boxing fan, Sam Langford is probably not underrated, okay? 179 wins, just 31 losses, 40 draws, okay? Now, Langford appears high on pound-for-pound lists written by knowledgeable historians. And even though he started his career at welterweight, he ranks high on a lot of all-time heavyweight lists, okay? Started at welterweight. In the 1968 Ring Record book, Charlie Rose ranked Langford the top heavyweight of all time. Now, Charlie, you went a little bit too far on that one. No, I wouldn't say all that. No, Charlie. Not the top heavyweight of all time. But due to the racism of his time, Langford never got the chance to fight for a world title. He had the colored heavyweight title, never fought for the regular one. Even Jack Johnson wouldn't fight it. For this reason alone, the passage of time has ensured that Langford had something less than the kind of status he truly deserved, because he shows up on no list of champions, right? Never was a champion. This causes Langford to be vastly underrated among more casual and young fans, because they were world heavyweight champions, right? Max Baer, Jack Sharkey, they get mentioned more so than Langford because they were actually champions, right? But Sam Langford is very underrated. Sam McVeigh. Yeah, a lot of these older fighters are underrated because of the passage of time. No doubt. Sam McVeigh. He was 62 wins, 12 losses, 8 draws. He was a contemporary of Sam Langford. Likewise, shut out of many opportunities because of his race. Now, both Sams fought each other nearly 24 times, often for what was billed as the colored heavyweight championship. Wow, that's got to be the record of 24 times, 24 times. That's got to be the record of two fighters fighting each other. Wow. Now, Langford had the better record, but McVeigh won his share, and many of their fights were draws. This would absolutely suggest that McVeigh deserves fairly high all-time ranking, but he remains an obscure figure because of the era he fought in. Harry Wills, same thing. There's another one. Harry Wills, 67 wins, 9 losses, 3 draws. He's another fighter who never got a chance to achieve the status he really deserved due to the racism of his era. Now, Wills was the recognized #1 contender to Jack Dempsey during much of Jack Dempsey's reign, but in a country still trembling from the career of Jack Johnson, a mixed race fight between the two ultimately proved impossible to set up. They didn't want another black champion that fast right after Jack Johnson. No way. Ken Overland. Talking about some underrated fighters. 135 wins, 19 losses, 9 draws. Now, Ken Overland is largely forgotten now after a career which included capturing the middleweight crown from Seferino Garcia in 1940. Overland's all-time standing is probably hurt in part by his low knockout total, and probably in part due to the fact that his career almost entirely corresponded with first the Depression and then World War II. In that era, prize fighters and all other sports took an understandable hit in the amount of attention they could garner. Now, unlike a lot of fighters from their old days, Overland was still mostly winning at the end of his career, even taking a decision from an up-and-coming Ezra Charles. You had to win over Ezra Charles. Holman Williams. 145 wins, 30 losses, 11 draws. Now, Williams is another all-time great who never got his shot at the title. Williams was a defensive wizard who was largely avoided by the two welterweights and middleweights of his era. He was one of the murderous road fighters, Holman was. He fought fellow underrated contemporary Charles Burley 7 times, okay? Winning 3 of them, and he beat the legendary Archie Moore. Here's another murderous road fighter, Charles Burley. Another one of the murderous road guys. A group of 8 black boxers who fought around the 1940s and were highly avoided by many of the big names who competed during that era. Charles Burley was thought to be the best of the group, and he was avoided by Mr. Pound for Pound himself, the great Sugar Ray Robinson. Okay, Charles Burley. Let's talk about it. Like his great rival Holman Williams, Charles Burley, 83 wins, 12 losses, 2 draws. Never had the opportunity to fight for a world title. And man, look at some footage of Charles Burley. He is nasty. I looked at him the other day. Charles Burley was, you think Floyd Sweet Pea was defense? Charles Burley was virtually unhittable. Pull him up and look at him, man. That guy would be standing in front of you. Then a split second later, he'd be over to your left. Then another split second, he'd be on the right. Charles Burley was nasty. Charles Burley might be the most underrated boxer of all time, and quite likely the most talented boxer to never win a world title, never even fought for one. But he was nasty, man. Get a chance, take a look at him, Charles Burley. Okay, Jimmy Bivens. That's Jimmy on the left there. 86 wins, 25 losses, and 1 draw. Bivens was one of the top light heavyweight and heavyweight contenders during the late 1940s and early 1950s, during the post-war era, when boxing was undergoing a huge resurgence in popularity. Now, although he never managed to win a belt, Bivens did record victories over a laundry list of former and future world champions, such as Archie Moore, Ezra Charles, and Joey Maxson. Bivens went the distance with Joe Louis and lost to Jersey Joe Walcott by split decision. You could argue that most of Bivens' contemporaries who rank ahead of him deserve it. But Bivens is a classic example of a guy who was much better than anybody can really appreciate from across the decades. Jimmy Bivens. Okay, we're moving forward, a little forward now. Ezra Charles. Yeah, all the recognition he gets, still a little underrated as it is. Ezra Charles. Okay. 93 wins, 25 losses, 1 draw. The Cincinnati Cobra started his career as a middleweight, eventually became perhaps the best light heavyweight ever. Considered the best light heavyweight ever, but never won the title at light heavyweight because he was avoided. Nobody would give him a chance at the title at light heavyweight, but still considered one of the best light heavyweights ever. Never the champion there, though. But after light heavyweight, he moved up to heavyweight to reign as the world champion in the years between Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano, as it was a champion in between. Lost to Rocky twice. Now, he's definitely a top 20 heavyweight, right? If cruiserweight had existed, Charles might have been the best ever in that division. Didn't have cruiserweight then. All of that adds up to a pretty solid pound-for-pound ranking. But you rarely see or hear Charles mentioned in those kind of debates. Little to do with the passage of time again. Yeah. Bill Graham. What's going on in the chat? Nothing. Okay, let's move on. I know I got more than 7 likes. I had 6 when I started, but it's all good. That's, I don't know what kind of games they play, but Bill Graham, 102 wins, 15 losses, 9 draws. He was a durable defensive technician, notable among other things for having never been knocked down during his entire career, okay? And what was that, 126 fights, never knocked down, okay? During the early 1950s, Graham engaged in highly competitive rivalries and recorded victories over celebrated middleweight champions, Kid Gavilan, Carmen Basilio, and Joey Giardello. You know, the middle 50s was the greatest decade ever for middleweights. Billy Graham. Talking about some underrated fighters. Ida Joffer. There's Ida Joffer. See Ida's record. Now, Ida was a 2-division world champion. Okay, 72 wins, just 2 losses, 4 draws. Yet does not appear very high on most all-time rankings. At the same time, Joffer's quality of competition can be legitimately criticized. He lost twice to the Fighting Geraldo. That was the biggest name on his resume. But what can't be denied is that he had a highly successful, exciting style. What finally included him on the underrated list was the most recent issue of the Ring magazine as an Ida Joffer Best Fighter You've Never Heard Of award. If a fighter is most well known for not being very well known, you have to think he is at least a little bit underrated, right? Most well known for not being very well known, yeah, had to be a little underrated. Luis Rodriguez. 3 o'clock? No way. I thought it was like 2:30. Damn. Okay. All right, Luis Rodriguez. But I appreciate everybody that stopped by today. Tomorrow is Boxing in the State Fairmont. Friday is the life and career of the Galveston Giant, Jack Johnson. Now, Luis Rodriguez won 107 fights, lost 13, 3 draws. He went 1-2 against the great Emil Griffith, who was one of the elite welter and middleweights of the past 50 years. And both losses were split decision, 2 razor-thin fights. The most recent issue of the Ring magazine quotes Rodriguez's trainer, the late Angelo Dundee, as saying, well, this is the old Ring magazine. Rodriguez, Angelo Dundee said, Rodriguez, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated boxers ever. Angelo further rates Rodriguez as the boxing equal of Ray Leonard with quicker hands. Angelo Dundee said this. He trained Ray Leonard. He trained Luis Rodriguez and Ray Leonard. And he says Luis Rodriguez is the boxing equal of Ray Leonard with quicker hands. Who would know better than Angelo Dundee? Okay? And Angelo was the kind of trainer who loved his fighters like his children. So he may have overstated it a little bit. Okay? But Rodriguez was underrated. He was one of the first names think of when you're making an underrated list after hearing what Angelo Dundee said. Wow. Faster hands than equal to Sugar Ray Leonard and faster hands. Okay? He should be one of the first names you think of with that high praise. Carlos Palomino makes the underrated list. Carlos Palomino. 31 wins, 4 losses, 3 draws. He's a classic case of a very good fighter overshadowed by greater contemporaries. But he held the welterweight title for 3 years and made 7 defenses before dropping a razor-thin split decision to the great Wilfredo Benitez. Okay, that's how Wilfredo got the title. I think that was the fight when Wilfredo was 17, I think. You know, when that made Wilfredo the youngest to ever win a title, I think that was against Carlos Palomino. So Carlos is a part of history. He was the opponent in the fight when the youngest boxer ever won the title, Wilfredo at 17. After losing to Benitez, Palomino lost a one-sided unanimous decision to Roberto Duran. There's nothing to feel bad about. A lot of people lost one-sided decisions to Roberto Duran. Palomino retired for 18 years before launching a comeback in 1997, during which he compiled a 4-1 record. And next on the underrated list is Wilfredo Benitez. Okay, yeah, he's underrated. We're coming up closer to the modern era now. Wilfredo Benitez. Yeah, that's him fighting the hands of stone, Roberto Duran, the great legendary Roberto Duran. If Carlos Palomino was a very good fighter overshadowed by his great contemporary, Wilfredo Benitez is a great fighter overshadowed by his perhaps simply greater contemporaries, overshadowed by the 4 kings themselves. Wilfredo was. You know, he fought smack dab in the middle of the era of Duran, Leonard, Hearns, and Hagler. Yeah, that's an understatement saying Benitez is overshadowed by his contemporaries. Benitez was 53 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw. Right? Benitez should be rightfully viewed as the 5th king, joining the 4 named by George Kimball in the title of his classic book, The 4 Kings, about Hearns, Leonard, Hagler, and Duran, right? There was only 4 kings in the deck, so you know. But Benitez was involved in extremely important, closely fought battles with 3 of the 4 kings. Fought all of them except Hagler, and all good fights. He lost by TKO to Sugar Ray Leonard in the 15th round, right? And was often criticized over the years. He was badly cut, but still seemed more than capable of defending himself through the last seconds of the fight against Sugar Ray. It should be noted that he was alert enough to be among the very first people to congratulate Leonard after the stoppage, but he was also clearly behind on point. Benitez beat Duran at the start of 1982 and lost a majority decision at the end of the year to Thomas Hearns. After that, his career went downhill quickly, but yeah, had 3 great fights against 3 of the 4 kings. Benitez was a defensive wizard and a boxing prodigy with a track record for hanging tough in the deep waters. On his best night, he was a major problem for any fighter at 147 pounds. Yeah, Wilfredo Benitez. And he is underrated when it comes to all-time ranking at welterweight. Definitely underrated. The 5th king. The great Esteban de Jesus. The only man to beat Roberto Duran in the 1970s, okay? Now, Roberto came back and beat him twice, but Roberto was 54-1 in the 70s, and he only lost to that man right there, the great, legendary Esteban de Jesus. When boxing critics list Roberto Duran as the greatest lightweight in history, part of their judgment is based upon the work he did against Esteban de Jesus, right? 58 wins and 5 losses, 3 draws. De Jesus gave Duran the first loss of his career. He knocked Duran down in the rematch before falling to the hands of stone by TKO in round 11. And Duran knocked De Jesus out in the 3rd in rubber match, okay? But he did beat Durant in the first fight and dropped him in the second fight, okay? He did lose it, but he did drop Durant, okay? Winding down now, just a couple more to go. We got a piece on Michael Spink that we're going to get some link time at the end. Okay, Ricardo Lopez on the left, did a great Ricardo Lopez. Listen to his record. I've told y'all many times. 51 wins, no losses, 1 draw. This man never lost in his life. Unbeaten in the amateurs too, okay? Never lost in his life. Maybe he lost some sparring or something, I don't know. But never lost a fight in his life. Don't know how it feels to lose. Ricardo Lopez retired undefeated, having won 26 straight world title fights. He was a complete and well-rounded fighter who did everything he could to stake his claim on greatness. But since he did it at 105 pounds, he never gets the same consideration that fighters 2 or 3 weight classes up would receive. Say Ricardo Lopez did what he did at 126 or 130 or something, he would be, every time you say an all-time great list, Ricardo Lopez would definitely be top 10. But you never hear about him because he fought at 105. A lot of people don't go down that road. You see some great fighters and fights down there. Now, Ricardo's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame and is remembered as an all-time great. But his size and weight class causes him to be underrated to a large degree. And he missed, like Joe Louis is the only fighter to be champion for an entire decade. Ricardo missed by a couple months because instead of finishing out the decade, he decided to move up, like October something 98, to go up and chase the title at 108, which he won. So, you know, he could have been the champion for the entire decade of the 90s, missed by a few months. Yeah. Ken Norton, underrated. He is fighting Ali. Define Arnie won. And what's up, Define Arnie won? Good to see you today. Our friend from Puerto Rico, Define Arnie won. Salute. Always good to see you. Yeah, we talked about the underrated fighters, Define Arnie won. Ken Norton. We only got a couple more. We're getting close to link time too. Ken Norton. Ken Black Hercules Norton. 42 wins, 7 losses, and 1 draw for his career. Now, Ken Norton did not start boxing at all until he was a Marine in his early 20s. He was such a great athlete that the state of Illinois instituted a Ken Norton rule during his high school career to limit the number of sports a competitor, to limit the number of events a competitor could enter in a track meet, right? Because Ken was in so many and winning all of them, they had to limit their number a competitor could compete in, right? That was to prevent athletes like Ken Norton from winning the entire meet on their own, okay? Now, Norton had flaws as a fighter, right? But some of the criticism of his chin is overstated. His 4 knockout losses were against George Foreman, Ernie Shavers, Jerry Cooney in his final fight, right? All big punches. And his 4th was against Jose Luis Garcia. And that was fairly early in his development. So, you know, he had 4 knockout losses, but that weak chin is overrated on Norton because George Foreman, Ernie Shavers, and Jerry Cooney knocked out a lot of people. So if you're going to call Ken Norton a weak chin, you got to call a lot of other people weak chins, okay? Norton gave Muhammad Ali as much trouble as anybody except Joe Frazier. He beat Ali 3 times, but they only gave him credit for 1 of them. He beat him by split decision, and then the judges gave Ali the split decision in the 2nd fight. And Razor then hotly contested unanimous decision in the 3rd fight. They had like around 26 sports writers judging the 3rd fight. 24 of them gave it to Norton, right? But the 3 official judges gave it to Ali. So that's what counted. But yeah, I think Ken beat Ali 3 times, man. 3 times. Fine Arnie says, Benitez, Larry Holmes, and Joe Calzaghe among the most underrated in my book. Yeah, Benitez was on this list, Fine Arnie. Yeah. Benitez was the 5th king. 3 of them, 3 of the 4 kings, in very good fights. Yeah. I think it was a 15-round TKO to Sugar Ray Leonard. He beat Duran, and a majority decision lost to Hearn. Okay, didn't fight Hagler. Hagler never fought. Hagler fought at middleweight his entire career. Benitez only went to junior middleweight, so he never went up to fight Hagler. Mike McCallum is next. We only got a couple more. Mike McCallum. We might have to get to Michael Spinks tomorrow because it's almost link time. That might be the highlights of boxing history. Why was Michael Spinks so underrated? Okay, but Mike McCallum, 49 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. He's another great fighter, overshadowed by the quartet of Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, and Duran. Okay, but the body snatcher would have been a very difficult out at 154 pounds for anybody in history. McCallum never lost until he moved up to middleweight and challenged Sambu Kalambe for the WBA strap. McCallum was never the same dominant force after moving up, but he remained one of the elite fighters at that weight into the early 1990s. Mike McCallum. Okay, we got like 3 more. James Buddy McGirt, underrated fighter. James Buddy McGirt. There's Buddy. There's light coming from behind me, man. But that's part of the image. I ain't got no lights on. The Forgotten Warrior, Buddy McGirt. Now the fact that McGirt was labeled the Forgotten Warrior says it all about him, right? 73 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw. McGirt was a 2-division world champion, one of the most skilled and exciting fighters of the late 1980s and early 90s. At his very best, McGirt only lost to Meldrick Taylor and Pernell Whitaker, 2 of the most elite fighters of that time, right, when he was fighting. McGirt works as a very successful trainer today. Okay. But Vitaly Klitschko makes it. Vitaly Klitschko. Al Booga in the building. What's up, AB? How you doing today? Talking about the most underrated fighters of all time. Some of them. I missed, like Define Arnie said, had some good ones. Define Arnie said, I had Benitez on here, Define Arnie, but you also said, well, Joe Calzaghe, Larry. Oh, yeah, Larry Holmes. Okay, Frank Jager. Frank's been in here. Salute again, Frank. Frank says, I meant Floyd Mayweather literally ducked below the waist in his fights. Mayweather was often out of position and couldn't control the line, so ducked below the opponent's waist. Okay, yeah, good points, Frank Jager. Frank come in today making some very good points. I like that, yeah. Love that interactions in the chat. Appreciate this 1000%, Frank Jager. Okay. Vitaly Klitschko. We're going to drop the link in a moment. Vitaly Klitschko. How many times have I said that? Vitaly Klitschko. Sorry. Okay. Now, he's the only Klitschko brother on the list, right? And you could make an argument for Vladimir, too. But some of the criticism of Vladimir is justified. He's been knocked out by substandard opponents, and his safety-first approach to boxing at times lulls American audiences to sleep. Now, the fact that Vladdy picked a 40-year-old cruiserweight, Vladimir, right? Vladimir, Vitaly, I forgot which one I had on the list, I'm sorry. Vitaly, I got to talking about Vladimir, but Vitaly is the one on the underrated list. And Vitaly was 44 wins, just 2 losses, 2 draws. And both of those losses came when due to injury. He was ahead on the cards in both of those losses to Lennox. He had to stop because of cuts, giving Lennox the win. And then Chris Bird, he hurt his shoulder, right? So he could have very easily been undefeated. Both of those losses, he was ahead on the cards when the fight was stopped. And Lennox, instead of giving him the rematch, Lennox retired, right? Lennox retired. And yeah, Vladdy is probably the better of the two, and they're far more underrated than Vlad. Vitaly is the more aggressive and rugged fighter between the two brothers. Like I was saying, his only two losses were on cuts with Lennox Lewis and due to a shoulder injury to Chris Bird, right? And Vitaly went years before even losing a round in fight. He was one of the best knockout percentages in the history of the heavyweight division. And if he was an American, he'd be written about as one of the greatest of all time. Yes, he would. Yes, he would. And finally, there's Vitaly right. Wait a minute. Finally, the great Juan Manuel Marquez. Now, you know he's underrated. Juan Manuel Marquez. Okay, 53 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw. He is one of the greatest fighters of the last era, 2000s, 2015, somewhere around in there. And Marquez was consistently underrated throughout his career, right? He didn't get his first title shot for 6 years. After he lost his first attempt at a title against Freddie Norwood, it was 4 more years before he got another shot, right? That's 2 title shots in 10 years for an all-time great first ballot Hall of Famer. Now let's compare that to a fighter like, say, Michael Katsidis, a title challenger who Marquez dispatched in 9 rounds back in November 2010. Katsidis went directly from that fight to a title fight against Robert Guerrero. Now, how come Marquez didn't get that shot? Now, Katsidis lost that fight. He beat a single journeyman and immediately got another title shot against Ricky Burns, right? Now, we don't have nothing against Katsidis, right? But yeah, that was just unfair for him to get the shot and after Marquez beat him, Now, going into his last fight against Manny Pacquiao, very few writers were giving Marquez a chance, despite his legendary track record against Manny Pacquiao. And he ended up knocking him out, remember? Yep. So, the Ring magazine published a list of the greatest Mexican champions in the last 20 years. And they had Marquez at number 10, behind Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales, right? I don't usually question Ring magazine, but I would have had Marquez in front of both of them. Now, all 3 great fighters, but I would have had Juan Manuel in front of Barrera and Morales. When you're talking about the great Mexican fighters, yeah, I would have had to put Marquez in front of them. Marquez is top 5, man. I think. Let's get some link time, okay? To close the show down with the link. We're going to start out tomorrow. The highlights of boxing history is going to be, why was Michael Spinks so underrated? It's kind of long, and it's going to take us right up to the end. No, we got to get some link time in, okay? But I appreciate everybody that came through today. Really appreciate it. And everybody is welcome to hit the link, okay? Everybody. From the JBT, the STN, the TWT, the OMO, the TEB, the FDA, the KGB, the CIA, everybody's welcome to hit the link, okay? Everybody. But first, I guess I better put it in, right? That might help y'all to hit it if I put it in. Okay. But how's everybody today? Well, what we got this weekend? I think we got like 4 or 5 cards? I don't see no big names, but it's boxing. That's what we love, right? So yeah. What y'all think about them fights last weekend? Amber Cream had a good point yesterday about that. The zone Ryan Brody card. It was so much said looking ahead to the fights coming, like the Devin Ryan fight was talked about more than the actual fights on that card, man. And I really think that affected some of their performances. Like Devin took playing it safe to a whole new level. You know, Devin took playing it safe to a new level. Nothing against Devin, but wow. He was going to make sure he didn't lose that fight. If he would have had to get out the ring to get away from Ramirez, he was going to make sure he wasn't going to get caught in that one. Yeah. That's really playing it safe. Devin said, I'm not losing this. I want Ryan again. Yeah. And then see what happened. Ryan ended up losing. So wow. So what's up with that, with the Devin and Ryan fight now? A lot of people say it's lost a little bit of steam, a little bit of the luster. But I don't know. I would still like to see it again. I don't know. I guess I would still like to see it again. I think. I think we're going to get it. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Mess, man. See, I'm running my mouth. Let me be quiet for a little while, y'all, okay? So I can get this link in. I had started. But we got the big, another big, what's it called? DB3 card coming up early June. And Abdullah Mason taking a step up. He's going up against Nakadila. That'll be a good test for the young man. I think he'll pass it, but yeah. It'll be a good one for him. The Nakadila, Murray Tyler got him out of there in 2 rounds. So I don't know. The styles make fights, so. Abdullah gonna come in and go after him. Murray Tyler's similar, you know. He's known to come in and get you up out of there. But let's get this link in. Okay. Oops, there it is. Okay. How's everybody this Wednesday afternoon? Hump day. After today is downhill to the weekend. And more live boxing. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to start out with the highlights of boxing history. It's going to be, why is Michael Spinks so underrated? Like I kept been saying the last 3 days. Y'all probably tired of hearing me say it. It was that Mike Tyson fight, his last fight. That's what a lot of people remember. The 91-second demolition, especially casual fans, because they watched Mike Tyson fights. You know, Mike Tyson was a man around that time, and a lot of casual fans, was the first time they ever saw Michael Spinks, and they saw this man get knocked out in 1 minute and 31 seconds. That's all they knew about him. So, hey, that he ain't nothing. But he in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. You know, the 80s had a lot of great light heavyweights, man. And Michael Spinks was at the top, undisputed to the early 80s into the mid 80s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And was a great champion. But he's very underrated. We're going to talk about it starting out tomorrow. Just why he was so undisputed. And him and Leon, and Michael Spinks didn't even really like boxing, right? He said he learned how to box to defend himself because him and his brother Leon was bullied. They grew up in this housing project out there, notoriously bad housing project out there in St. Louis, Missouri. And Leon said if you didn't know how to fight, you would get your ass whipped. Quote unquote. That's what Leon said. So Michael learned how to box. And coming out of the Olympics after that gold medal, he wasn't even going to turn professional at first, right? then Butch Lewis got to him and told him how much money he was leaving on the table because, Butch Lewis knew boxing and he knew that Spinks could be great at it. So he convinced him to turn professional. But there was a gap in there after the Olympics and both of them turning professional. And the rest is history. The endorsements didn't come. That was weird because you get that gold medal, the endorsements usually come to you. But, him or his brother Leon really didn't cash in big on the endorsements. And Michael wasn't even going to box, but he did. And then he had Eddie Futch as his trainer for that Mike Tyson fight. And Eddie had a perfect game plan. Eddie wanted him to box Mike because Mike had a good jab and had that Spinks jinx, had power. And he wanted him to box Mike from the outside, like Buster Douglas did. But that was before Buster Douglas. Boxing from the outside. And, when Mike tried to come in, drop that Spinks jinx on him. But then Michael Spinks got intimidated. And by the time he got to the ring and actually faced Mike, the game plan went out the window. Mike forgot all about what he was supposed to do. As Mike said, he was trying to get Mike's respect. And went in there and exchanged with him. And see how that worked out. 91 seconds later, it was over. But Eddie Futch had an excellent game plan for him. The game plan that Buster Douglas used, like a couple years later, Eddie Futch had that game plan for Michael Spinks in 1987, I think it was when they fought. But Michael Spinks just got intimidated when he actually saw Mike Tyson coming to the ring with that towel, with the hole through the towel over his head and just some shorts and shoes on. I don't even think Mike played no music coming to the ring. He just walked out there, and Michael Spinks was really intimidated and forgot all about his game plan. And that could have worked. It worked for Buster Douglas. And Michael Spinks had a great jab and a good right hand that could have kept Mike at bay when he tried to come in, just like Buster did. But Mike forgot the game plan when the bell rung. I think it could have worked. And the plan was to get Mike Tyson into the later rounds and let him tire. Because around that time, Mike wasn't going in no later rounds, just like Ali did Foreman with the rope-a-dope. I mean, Spinks wasn't going to use the rope-a-dope, but the same plan. Because Mike wasn't used to going late. And like Ali got Foreman into the later rounds and Foreman got tired. That was the plan Eddie Futch had for Mike Tyson. But Mike Spinks was not capable of executing it because he got so intimidated when Mike got in there, There's this man coming in there with a towel, just a towel with a hole cut in the middle draped over his head. No music playing, looking crazy, like he ready to kill something. Mike Spinks was like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? Forgot the whole game plan, man. Yeah. It was a 91-second demolition, but we're going to talk about it tomorrow. Let me stop. I'll tell you all the whole thing. I should have did it today. I'm going to start it. Since we got 20 minutes. Okay, let me see. I'm going to start it. Why is Michael Spinks so overrated? Okay. Okay. Where's Michael Spinks at? There he is. Why is Michael Spinks so overrated? Okay. Oh, that's not it. That's it. Okay. Now, Spinks is, underrated, not overrated, underrated. Spinks is underrated and not remembered as a great champion, solely because most casual fans judge him solely by his disastrous fight against Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Spinks was a great fighter, a truly great fighter as an amateur and as a pro, and should be remembered as a Hall of Fame boxer he is. Yes, he is in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Mike Spinks is a legitimately great fighter in the International Boxing Hall of Fame and deserves to be. He's the first light heavyweight champion since Gene Tunney to become heavyweight champion. Okay? He fought some great names from the light heavyweights in the 80s. Yaki Lopez, Mustafa Wasaja, Dwight Muhammad Kwawi, Marvin Johnson, Mustafa Hamsho. Mike was a great fighter, worthy of the honor of the Hall of Fame. Okay? Now, Gene Tunney was the first boxer to hold a light heavyweight championship and then move up and take the heavyweight title. And like I said, it didn't happen again until Spinks repeated the feat with two very, very close and very controversial decisions over Larry Holmes, right? Now, interesting footnote in history is that Bob Fitzsimmons relinquished the middleweight title to fight as a heavyweight, winning the crown 2 years later. Like I was telling earlier, the only fighter to do so straight from middleweight to heavyweight, right? And after losing the heavyweight title, Fitzsimmons went back down to light heavyweight in 1903 and won that title again. Okay? Just talking about some other light heavyweights. We're going to match Michael Spinks up with him in a minute. Sam Langford in his prime years could have fought at middleweight, light heavyweight, or heavyweight, and would certainly have won a title at middleweight and light heavyweight, and perhaps even heavyweight, had he only got a chance. Ezzard Charles was never given a title shot at either middle or light heavyweight, and though he too was a natural middleweight, he ended up fighting for and winning the heavyweight crown and defending it 8 times, undisputed heavyweight title 8 times. Okay. Now, Michael Spinks, unfortunately, again, is remembered by most for his loss to Mike Tyson. Like Floyd Patterson, whose reputation was destroyed by his losses to Sonny Liston, Mike Spinks has seen his badly damaged by his loss to Mike Tyson. And there were claims, somehow, that Spinks laid down to Tyson. And those claims are absurd, backed up by nothing, then or now. Spinks, like Patterson, froze up when confronted by the second most intimidating fighter of all time and took a beating. It has sadly diminished his legacy. Floyd Patterson froze up in the face of the most intimidating fighter of all time, Sonny Liston, and Spinks froze up in the face of the second most intimidating, Mike Tyson. And like I said, Spinks was a great fighter and a pro. And when in the training camp with Eddie Futch for the Mike Tyson fights, Eddie Futch is one of history's great trainers. And Eddie whipped Mike into fabulous shape and advised a sound and effective fight plan for that fight against Tyson. Essentially, Futch planned for Spinks to go do as Buster Douglas would do a few years later. Circle outside and jab Tyson with his 5-inch reach advantage. And when Mike rushed forward, hit him with the Spinks jinx, his lethal right hand. Survived the early rounds until Mike Tyson tired. But it all went straight out the window. Spinks abandoned the game plan, forgot his training, and it all went straight out the window, okay? And the fear caused Spinks to deviate from what Eddie Futch had trained him to do in the fight. Futch believed the key to beating Tyson was surviving the early rounds and letting Tyson gas, thinking that he was less effective as the rounds went by. Futch had trained Spinks to stick and move, jab, 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 and hit him with the Spinks jinx when Mike tried to come inside. But like I said, Spinks froze up. And Spinks, who later said he was desperate to earn respect, came forward in the first round and exchanged with Tyson. And the story ended 91 seconds later. You could have earned respect later in the fight, get him tired, and then do to him what Buster Douglas did to him. You would have earned all the respect in the world. Tyson used intimidation as part of his game plan, back in the day. Okay. Real experts, fighters, trainers, boxing historians will tell you that at least half of Mike Tyson's dominance was due to his opponents being beaten before the fight even started. Okay? Yeah, he was beaten before the fight even started. What's up, you fine Arnie one?
Hey, doing, Pat?
Hey, what's happening? How are you today? Yeah, you were saying about, I left out Holmes. Well, Benitez was on there, but Holmes and Kozaki, those were good points. Very underrated fighters. Yeah, you're right on both of them, especially Holmes. Yeah.
Holmes, I think, was put in one of the worst situations, probably the worst situation I've ever seen.
Kind of fading out, define, Arnie, a little.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. Yeah.
I think Larry Holmes was put in probably the worst position I've ever seen a fighter put in with the Ali situation.
Not much. Go out and come back in real quick. Yeah. Kind of jobbled like. Very jobbled. Okay, now come back in. Let me see. Let me turn this down. So. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Better now?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100% better. Now, what were you saying? Continue.
To me, Larry Holmes was put in one of the worst positions, the worst position probably ever. With the Ali situation and stuff.
Yeah.
And
when he fought Ali,
Sagi's never, Sagi's never really received just due, pun intended, in my opinion. I've had this debate many times. I debated this with the house at home with people that they keep saying that he got Roy when he was sold, that B-Hop when he was sold, and I'm like, listen. First of all, B-Hop beat Pavlik after the Kalsagi fight, and that was one of his best performances. And he beat Pascal also. So
I can't hear you too good at all, if I don't. You fading in, kind of like fading in and out.
Something wrong with the audio or something. I'm in the moment. You hear me now? No?
Yeah, it gets better, then it fades back out again. But look, let's go. We can go with this. No, what was you saying again? Go ahead, continue.
No, in the case of Joe Kalsagi, I don't think he's ever received.
There you go. Perfect. Okay. Now go ahead.
I debated this many times with people. Like they keep saying that he beat Roy and B-Hop when they were old. Listen, first of all, Roy fought 18 times after Kalsagi.
Yeah, he did.
B-Hop beat Pascal, and one of the best performances in his career was Kelly Pavlik, and both of those were after the Kalsagi fight. So I'm not buying it.
And the Kazaki fight was a close fight with B-Hop. Remember, 50-50. So yeah, you can't really blame it on Father Time because it was a real good fight, and yeah.
No, and usually, and this is the point that I hit the point with. Okay, Roy and Kalsagi were only 3 years apart. So if Roy wasn't in his prime, then Kalsagi wasn't in his prime either.
Oh no, neither was in the prime. Both was up in their 30s at the time of the fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kalsagi, if you look at it, Kalsagi and there's a group of fighters like Kalsagi and Hagler and B-Hop and a few others that they got their big fights late in the 30s.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah. What did you think about? Go ahead, finish.
No, you go.
No, I was going to ask you about this. I haven't talked to you since these fights this past weekend. Did you check any of them out? What you think about those?
Yeah.
Past weekend.
The one I was most surprised of Bakoli and Ajagba making the distance like that. I thought there's no way those two would make the distance, you know. So I was definitely shocked. Like I can see everybody else going to
Yeah,
decision. Honestly, even actually Ryan and Rory, I didn't think he was going to decision, but I wasn't shocked like I
yeah,
was with Napoleon Jackpot. Okay.
yeah. I had picked Ryan for that one. I was surprised, but I didn't think Rolly was going to do it. You know. Yeah,
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Like I picked Ryan too, just because
yeah.
I couldn't see Rory getting away from that left hook, but
Oh, that was beautiful. Them two left hooks he threw. Wow.
oh yeah.
And Rolly was playing defense, man. I've never seen him fight that much defensively before. You know, that was
I
good
was
for him.
pleasantly surprised.
He was keeping his hand up. He wasn't, he usually swing and leave himself wide open, but he wasn't doing that Saturday, man. What's his new trainer again? Is it what's his name again?
Luis Salas. Luis
Yes,
Salas.
Silas. He did a good job with Rolly. Yes, he has.
Yeah, he's clearly been putting in the time. Yeah, he's clearly doing the lab. So it is
What do you think about the Monster performance? Monster and the guy he fought Sunday.
Cárdenas, honestly, I was. It's interesting because Cárdenas obviously dropped him.
Yeah.
People are. I don't know if I'm on the team of his team, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm on that team because I never
Yeah.
was on the team that Devin is teaming either because yeah, you get dropped, but he got up.
He got
And not
up.
only did he get up, he beat his ass also. So
He finished him.
I can really say
He didn't.
that he's
He made the adjustments. He said after the fight, he wanted to make sure he didn't get caught with that punch again. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the same
Especially
thing
if
he
he's
did
fighting
against
Jun
the other guy.
Nakatani.
What was the other
Especially
guy's
if he's
name
gonna
that
fight
dropped him
Jun
and he got up and
Nakatani.
beat him? He never caught him again.
Luis Neves.
Yeah. And his father, he got a good trainer. His father, he's a pretty good trainer.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
For sure. But you gotta be careful with that if you're gonna fight Jun Nakatani. Jun Nakatani, he's with that shot. I don't think he's getting it. Like talking some like one of the most dangerous punches out there.
He said MJ in August. Him and MJ.
Yeah, he got to see MJ.
What you think about that
It's been a
one?
while.
Can MJ do it? Who would you be picking in that one?
I got it 55-45 in favor of MJ.
In favor of MJ?
Yeah, but it's right
Oh
there.
man, okay.
Yeah. MJ's
Okay. Why you favor MJ?
Oh man, he can box, he can punch, like he's a southpaw. Like I think he's got all the tools to do the monster problem.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. It's gonna be an interesting one. And it's Nate. Yeah. What's up, Thomas Hill?
Hey, you already know.
Nate.
I got caught up in some stuff with my aunt, man. My aunt just
Arnie
got,
up here with us today.
yeah. Shout out to Fine Honor. Yeah, I got caught up with my aunt. I'm cool, bro. I'm cool. She just got out of the hospital, and unfortunately, put her dog of 24 years down.
We
So,
were just talking about the underrated fighters and last weekend. That's all.
okay, so what we talking about right now? Are we still talking about that? Because underrated fighters?
Underrated? Yeah. You got something you wanted to add to the list that I didn't mention? You found Arnie had Holmes and Kawasaki.
Hey,
Yeah, I had Benitez on there.
I agree with Holmes. It's crazy that Holmes is actually underrated. As great as he was, I can't understand how he is underrated. Like, the man was really, truly one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, I know.
But he is on that list because a lot of people don't give him that respect. I would say, man, one that probably won't resonate with folks is Chris Bird, bro.
Chris Bird? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Wow.
I love me some Chris Bird. It's amazing that somebody who don't have no power was able to navigate that heavyweight division the way he was, man. He was really good. Really, really good. He gave a lot of people some tough fights. Another one, man, that I think is underrated that don't get the credit that he deserved was Mark Too Sharp. I thought Too Sharp. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I thought I thought he and Aaron Pryor. I don't know if you had Aaron Pryor as one that was on that list. I don't think people really give them their true credit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Ike Cortez gets the true credit he deserved.
Yeah.
I don't think that to be honest, I don't think. Let me see. Let me think about that one.
The problem that I have with Aaron Pryor is that
Mm-hmm.
it's too controversial for my
Yeah, the way
liking.
his ended. You're right. The way it
Yeah.
ended. Yeah, that hurt him a lot. To find on, the way his career ended.
Yeah.
With the drugs and
I don't
Just
know
everything.
if
like
this is gonna.
Arguello.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. And to a certain degree, he has to shoulder some of that blame. I do believe more so than that, it was his corner man that was the one that was most responsible for it. But I mean, he is the fighter, and they're not going to look at the corner man; they're going to look at the fighter.
The fighter.
So
No, you're not completely innocent either. No way. No way you're completely innocent. Like right there. You know what's going on.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a little bit of whereabouts about it, understanding. But I'm gonna say this name, bro. Well, I'll say it with a lot of them. To tell you the truth, it's a lot of Latin fighters that don't get the respect that they do.
I had Juan Manuel up there. I had Juan Manuel as the
Well,
top.
Juan Manuel should be the top. He
Yeah,
never gets the respect.
never.
And I think a lot of it is also because of one fighter in particular. He really won 3 of those 4 fights against
Yes, he did.
Pacquiao. The fight he didn't win, I thought was a draw. So I thought he
He
won 3 of the
definitely
4
won the
fights.
third one. Like the third one, that was a highway robbery. That was bad.
Yeah.
What's up, Puro?
So
What up, guys? What up, T Hill? What's going on, Irony?
we're good with
How
you,
y'all
Puddle.
doing, bro?
What's up, Puro?
Okay.
Chilling. Just got off work, so I'm just chilling.
Okay.
Must be nice, dog. Must be nice.
Yeah, we was just talking about some underrated fighters.
Oh, there's been tons of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tons of
You
them.
never really can name all of them.
I could try.
Yeah.
It'll take me a while though.
Give us some names. Give us a couple names you got.
Well, you guys named a few: Aaron Pryor, Larry Holmes, Lennox Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis too.
Yeah.
I would agree with that one.
Donovan Ruddock. What's his name? He was really good, but it was the '80s, so he got really hooked on crack. But he was really, really good. I would call him overrated, underrated, and also like kind of wasted talent. What's his name?
Was it what
Kirkland Lang? Kirkland Lang?
Heavyweight.
Kirkland Lang? Oh.
80s, 90s, heavyweight.
Heavyweight?
Dokes, yeah, Dokes.
Oh,
yeah, Michael Dokes.
Yeah.
Michael
Michael
Dokes.
Dokes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the drugs,
Okay.
man. But yeah, definitely underrated because people don't rate him high because the drugs kind of took him over.
Yeah.
A bunch of losses and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I mean they got good box. Let me see another underrated.
Honestly, in my opinion, Ivan Calderon, bro. Like I have this debate with my people all the time. Like if Ivan Calderon was a lightweight, bro, they would have it at Mount Rushmore. It's that freaking stigma of the lower division. And the same thing with Finito Lopez. Same exact thing.
Yeah, I would call him underrated, even though like my mind wants to say no, definitely not underrated. But yeah, nobody. A lot of people don't know about him, so that's the reason I would say underrated.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of those lower weight.
Alfredo Gomez, he was underrated.
Yeah, Wilfredo.
Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him. I would call him underrated.
But I was
a lot of people.
But I don't think he was. I don't think he was given the respect that he. I think both Wilfredos were underrated. Gomez and
Gomez.
In a way, you're right. Tito, because the Camacho and Gomez have this problem of being remembered for the loss. Salvador Sanchez on one end and Chavez on the other end, as if they did nothing else. That bugs the hell out of me. So on that side, you're absolutely right. But in Gomez, like a ton of people have told me that they have him as number one. So
I would say like depending who you ask. Like if you ask me, Gomez would not be underrated at all. But if you ask like Cass was saying, like the lower weight, sometimes there's certain fans that won't even know that those weights exist. Okay,
I'm
then
serious.
I can see how
Yeah.
like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hear you. I just think that if they were of a different origin, they would have more praise.
Like
People
Ricardo
would
Lopez, man, the man would never lost a fight, and you know that's
exactly,
all they ever hear about it because he fought at 105.
exactly,
Just think if he would have fought at like 135 or something, he'd be like top 5 pound for pound. You know,
And he, yeah, and he went undefeated in the amateurs as well.
2, yeah, never lost in his life.
Never lost
He has
in his
a
life.
record
Yeah.
of knockouts. That's never gonna be touched. The record of knockouts he had, I don't remember how
And
much.
you never hear about him though. You know,
Yeah.
never hear about him.
Humberto Gonzalez, La Chiquita Gonzalez, like he was
La
extremely
Chiquita
You
underrated.
can name a ton of Latin fighters. That's what I'm saying. You can name a ton of Latin fighters that were really, really good. Just think about the narrative. They're fighting slow, flat-footed Mexican fighters. And they apply that to every single Latin fighter there is.
And you know what's funny? That narrative, it's like, to me, it's comical because like if you ask most like people like exist a lot in the sport, like your Teddy Atlases or you know those old guard or whatever, and if you ask like really knowledgeable boxing fans, the lower weights, like they would never be characterized as slow.
No way.
You know, so like it's like a million punches and they're coming at like insane speeds. So you get what I'm saying, Tio?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and see, and to further support it, look at what Ant McQueen just said. Orlando Canizales.
Yeah, Canizales. That's somebody nobody knows. Like not even like the people that like the little weights.
You know, Orlando Canizales. I've heard that name before. People, I was in a Mexican channel the other day. They were just singing his praises, bro. He was good, right? I'm gonna check him out.
Yeah. He had a brother named Gabby. It was Gabby in Orlando. I forgot which one, Orlando or Gabby was the original Lomachenko. You know, the Mexican Matrix. You know? One of the two. I forget. Yeah.
And
Kelly Pavlik is underrated in my opinion. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it was 2 other brothers that fought in the 90s. They real underrated. Oh man, what was the name?
Oh, the Ruelas.
Yeah.
About Gabby and Rafa.
Yeah. You never hear about them, man. They were very good fighters.
Back in the day, you used to hear about
Rafi was the shiznit. He was the shiznit, boy.
Yeah, the passage of time hurt a lot of fighters too, you know.
Yeah, and then
bro, you got people that.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was saying just real quick. Those brothers in particular, I forgot if it was Gabby or Rafa, killed this one Colombian in the ring, and after that, he was never the same.
Wasn't that Gabby? I think it was Gabby.
I think it might have been Gabby. Yeah. They were trained by the guy that trained Ryan for one fight. What's his name?
Joe
Goosen. Joe Goosen was their trainer since they were teenagers.
Really? Wow. Joe go way back. Wow.
He does.
You know who else I thought was underrated, man? John the Beast Mugabe, bro. I thought that he was hella underrated, man. He was tough.
Maybe, but he ran into Hagler, bro, and he was never the same.
He ran into Hagler.
He was murking people. Like he literally was undefeated. He was kind of like that was kind of like an Ali Foreman type of situation where everybody thought this was the guy that was good. He just
I'm sorry. Dwight Muhammad Kwawi too. He was another one that I thought was a hell of a fighter, and you just didn't get the respect that he was deserved. But it's so many, man.
Wasn't he shorter than Canelo?
Yeah, he was short.
Oh yeah, he was short. He was real
like
short.
Heavyweight, cruiserweight.
He made
what about Tommy Morrison?
Didn't he? Light heavyweight.
What about Tommy Morrison? Something like that, heavyweight.
Didn't he make it all the way to heavyweight? No, he started at light heavyweight, right? Yeah.
I think he started like a light heavyweight. Yeah, but he's like tank size.
Yeah.
He's very small. Use the peekaboo style.
Crazy, man.
Total advantage.
Just match Pitbull or Tank in the heavyweights. I'm sorry.
Wouldn't that be something? But this guy.
Well, see that's why I mean I'm a boxing fan, bro. That more so than anything, that's what I am. I'm a boxing fan. I'm not a boxer fan or a fan of a boxer or anything like that. I root for these boxers, and I like to see the fights, bro. And that's why when people say the fight for certain fights is over because of the size, man, I seen a young buck take on giant men in heavyweight ring and handle himself very, very well.
Yep.
So I don't have
he gave Prime Holyfield fits, bro. He gave Prime Holyfield fits in their fight. I remember that.
I believe he was cruiserweight champion. You know, I think that's how he won his title. Vander, I think it was that fight.
What do you guys think about Tommy Morrison? Is he underrated?
I think overrated. Me personally,
I think he was a good fighter.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that he was overrated, but the fact is, I think he was overrated in much in the same vein as they're trying to push Nico Ali Walsh. They wanted him to be greater than what he was, so to speak. And Nico Ali
Morrison was pretty good, bro. He beat George Ford.
He was good. He was really good. That's why I say he's a good fighter. But they wanted him to be great.
Yeah.
But again, drugs messed him over too.
He had chin problems, man.
He had chin problems, and he was on that dust too, bro. That dust will get you at times.
And defense.
Yes, sir.
Chin and defense.
But can we really say that like any heavyweight boxer has chin problems? I mean, like any. That's what they say about the heavyweight division, right? Any heavyweight can knock out anybody else. Any heavyweight, any given Sunday.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But I mean, he did. I mean, like Ray Mercer, man, that was vicious.
Yes, sir. That was a nasty one. That was one of the ones that I go to when I say ref negligence, like letting guys get hit, like what happened with Opetaya and David Nika, where you get unnecessary punishment before stopping the fight. And that can really mess you up. Like you talked the other day about the Benny the Kid Paredes, right? And Griffith and so on and on like that. That's what.
And then, man, to be totally honest, bro, a lot of older fighters that we don't speak on with the same respect that they deserve as well can fall. You can put a lot of people under this umbrella, man, because there's some people who did some amazing things that they don't get half the credit for.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can put a lot of it on time, though, too, T Hill.
Yeah, because you don't have access like you do now. Now you have greater access. So you see more flaws than you used to back in the day. You see people being greater than what they truly are like they were back in the day. Yeah. That's why people can say, well, in this time, if they played in this time, they wouldn't have done so well. Or dude, if they played during this time, man, they would have killed. It's just under the lens of where we are now. And you got to be. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry. I don't know you're finished. No. Finish, T-Hill. I don't want to mess up your thought.
No, just be under the lens of where you are in the moment. That's it. That's all, man. It's like we let that cloud our judgment. See, I try my best not to do that.
Yeah, and like I'm going out on a limb, but especially where you told me where you're from last time, T-Hill. You're American, right? And unfortunately, like especially nowadays, Americans with the bias that's always been in boxing about American boxing, and the way that in the lower, like you were saying, in the lower weights, there really isn't a lot of American fighters at those weights anymore.
No,
like there used to be, like there used to be like a handful, like in comparison to say like, because like the lower weights, say I would say featherweight and down, it's like dominated Japan, Mexico, Philippines. You got Colombian fighters. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of American fighters, and you got the Asia Pacific fighters. They've all, like since boxing started, they've been there. Right. And then Americans, it's always been like a handful, but there's been some great ones. Like you mentioned, Too Sharp. He's he's one of the goats of in my opinion. Those weight classes. Carbajal.
Carbajal was my guy. Yeah, Chiquita. He's my guy.
I can't think of any nowadays.
Well, we got maybe one or two. We got one of the brothers, fighting family. Their dad died. He just became a champion. One of the brothers, but Harry Anton, the Russells.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's a Russell that fights at bantamweight.
Right. I forgot about him. Yeah, it is a Russell.
And then
my favorite Mexican fighter of all time is Sanchez. My favorite Mexican fighter of all time is Salvador Sanchez. For example.
Salvador Sanchez.
Yeah, man.
A case can be made that he's criminally underrated.
Yeah, that was my dad's favorite.
Just think if he would have had
40 plus wins. At 23, he had 40 plus wins.
In the National Boxing Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah.
Just think if he would have been
but only true boxing fans know of him though.
Yeah.
Like it should be more people.
It's kind of like required reading.
But it deservedly so. Like that's somebody that's of your nationality doing something greater than most people can. So I have no problem with it. I have absolutely no problem with it. I just have a problem when you try because you want to sort on somebody else, you sort on a whole group of people.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. So you're and then when doing it, you're not taking into consideration that the person that you're sorting for has even more on their resume. Because you got to realize they are at the smaller weight class.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, I graduated high school 175, bro. I'm not small by no means. These people fighting at 135, 130, 126, 122.
Yeah.
Imagine
Victor
108.
Lopez was in
Yeah.
105.
Grown men.
Victor
And to
Lopez
see
was in
Michael
105.
Carbajal, go out there and knock people out at that little bitty size was awe-inspiring. I used to love watching him fight, bro. It was just like, man, that little Nick bro can hit.
Look at Duran. Like obviously, like
He's an
Duran.
anomaly.
Yeah. I mean, fighters like that are anomalies because they're very few. You probably can count them on both hands. But my point being, like the topic of the live is like most overrated and underrated. Like a lot of people have like Roberto Duran as like one of the top 5, top 10s of all time.
Yeah.
For me, in my opinion,
Yep.
deservedly so. But I can make the argument that he's one of the most underrated boxers of all time because
Absolutely.
of the of him being that anomaly, of him being
Absolutely.
that short and
Good
where
point.
and
Nah,
where
I
he
disagree.
ended up. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say it, but I was like, nah, let me think better of it because people probably won't reckon or won't resonate with them. But yeah, truly, he's an anomaly.
Nah, I can't go
He's
there.
not worthy. I mean, they're not giving him the praise or the respect, the due that he truly warrants. Man, the dude fought from way down there to way up there and
He
dominated.
light heavyweight, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Nah, I
that, right?
disagree. I disagree, but I see you guys' point.
Yeah.
I can't go
Go ahead.
away because I actually heard a couple of people have him as number one, and which is fine by me. But
Mhm.
honestly, bro, like Duran's career, as great as it was, you got to look at the bad things also. You know, like I understand that he had that unfortunate situation with Leonard, with Tomas, and whatever, and his trainer bailed on him, you know, and all the rest of it. However, you know, let me put it to you this way, right? You got the supposed four kings, which is five, not four, but whatever. Let's play the game, right? Four
Yeah.
kings. He lost to all three of them. Like, listen, I'm gonna get jumped right now. I did it, but I love this. I'm just stating the fact because people are very quick to point out that Mike Tyson and Miguel Cotto and a few others have lost their big fights, right? And I'm like, hang on a second. What about Duran? Because if you're gonna use that, I'm not saying you guys, but a lot of people have gotten into it because they love to take Mike Tyson and Cotto and a few others. I forget who they are, and just brush it as like they love their all the big fights. And I'm like, first of all, that's not true. But second of all, you can't take and choose with your logic. If you're gonna use the logic, then I'm gonna take that same logic and use it on this guy right here. Because unfortunately, he lost to all three of them, and he lost to Benitez also. So he did give Hagler a hell of a fight, and he beat Leonard the first time. I get it.
Who,
The Leonard,
Duran?
I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting him to give Hagler that type of a fight, especially after the first fight. But you know, I just feel like Duran is kind of a I don't know. You got to look at everything as a whole.
Man, I was alive in the 70s and watched
Oh,
Roberto Duran in the 1970s. You ain't gonna never see nothing like that no more. Never.
He
Uh-uh.
don't see. He don't have the
Never.
lens that you have.
The
That's why I say
hands
it's
of
all about the lens
stone.
that you have.
Huh? What's in the hands of stone, man? 54-1.
That you
and
have.
and I
Manny
only
Pacquiao in the 2000s was something. You just saw Roberto Duran in the 70s. If anybody was ever close to unbeatable, that was it right there, man. That was
My father has him as the top lightweight ever. That was his
Of
soul.
course.
Like
most
I'm
people
going
do.
against
Most people do.
the tide here. I get it.
Yeah. That
I know,
man
man. I mean, but
unbeatable.
Oh, go ahead,
And I
Porto.
get your argument. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Teal.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's real quick to irony, and I get your argument, irony. I get it. Like it makes sense. It's just, I don't think you're like you're crazy or anything, but I do take into account the bad. To me, that's to me without the bad, he doesn't become the fighter that he became. He's not held in reverence as he became, because this guy, like just to add like a little wrinkle, this guy came from like quitting, right? Like, and that's like a cardinal sin for boxers. And he came all the way back, you know,
all the way back.
That says something, because that's something that, like, you know, in previous interviews and you know, things that I've seen in the past, it's like hard to come back from.
Won titles again.
Yeah.
Being a champion again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm gonna say one thing, bro. I'm gonna say one thing before I say what I'm about to say. Wherever you at, dog, I know it's got to be cool whenever it's hot, dog, because it's fans galore all over the place. But on top of that, I'll say this: he did lose to Ray the second time. Now there were very much extenuating circumstances that allowed that to be the way that it was. I mean, he had bloomed all the way up,
right?
And you know, he had to have a fat camp, so to speak, just to get in the ring. And you know, he wasn't really prepared for it. It wasn't that, you know, Ray beat him up. If you look at the fight, Ray didn't do much damage to him at all. He just couldn't stay up with Ray. He was out of shape, and he was getting clowned, and he didn't like that.
He didn't like that.
So he just basically said, if you're not gonna come in here and fight, I ain't gonna chase you around. And
if you watch them,
but whose fault is this, bro? Like, whose fault is this?
Ray would quit in some nonsense like that, man.
Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
It's not his fault, but it's not also Hagler's fault that he coaxed him into fighting a fight that he shouldn't have fought. That's who Ray Leonard was. He found out, oh, this dude ain't in shape. Let's try to get this fight now.
Mm-hmm. He said that he did the same thing to Hagler, bro. Yep.
And I get what you're saying, and like depending on the fan that it comes from, you know, from you're a reasonable person, but to me, those narratives that came out or people still believe about him, to me are just narratives to diminish the win that Ray had. Because at the end of the day, there's no excuse. The guy quit.
Exactly.
No, there is no diminishing of the win that he had. He still beat a very good fighter. I'm just saying the very good fighter wasn't really in the best of shape. That ain't his fault. Yeah, that's not his fault. That's not his fault, but it is what it is, though.
In the ring, bro. You got in the ring.
That's the argument. That's why, you know.
I'm not making an argument against Ray. I'm not saying that in shape, you know, Ray can't beat him. But we do know that, you know, it was documented that it was the case. And I'm fortunate for Duran, because Duran ultimately got in that ring. When you get in that ring, you say you're ready to compete. That's what you're saying by getting in that ring. So I don't give him no slight. But like I say, I just say that, you know, for what he did, for scaling up all that weight and still being able to pack a punch in all those weight classes and being able to make the cut, just like my main man Armstrong, being able to navigate so many pounds.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't get the respect that he's due at all.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
And I'm just saying, like, you can make a case, no matter how great people say he was and where they ranking. There's some people that's gonna say what would define irony just said about Duran. I don't know about that. He ain't as good as everybody make him out to be. They gonna say that about Armstrong. And Armstrong wasn't that good, man. He just wasn't fighting nobody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Am I say anything to diminish somebody that beat their favorite fighter, or just you know, whatever the case may be? They'll say whatever they want.
And it's crazy.
You know, I'm used to it, to be honest. You know, like it is what it is. You know, the fighters. I think the fighters are
but that's not where I'm coming from, though. That's not where
I'm not saying you're coming from that. I'm not saying you are in particular, but I'm just saying you will say that. I don't think Duran is definitely not underrated, man. I think people give him a little bit too much praise at times. There's some people who will feel that way about him.
Yeah,
but there are some fighters who you will never say that about. They're gonna be like, oh no, he gets the praise he deserves. I refuse to hear anything like that. And I think that, you know, I think Duran is one of those fighters. I think that Armstrong is one of those fighters that should be included, but they're not included for some reason. So they got to a degree. Some people that underrate undervalue their accomplishment to the sport. That's all I'm saying, man. I mean, all of it is subjective, man, because like unfortunately there is no magic bubble you can put these fighters in where they can fight one another during one another's ring rules and things like that. And scale, because you got to factor in for, like, let's say for my man Joe Louis. Look at what he had to fight against. Not only did he have to fight against an opponent, but he had to fight against an iconoclast and an ideology. And he had to do it for a country that did not respect him, that still don't respect him.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali the same.
Yeah, well, you know, Muhammad Ali, man. It's three fighters in particular that if you say something about them, that's like I can't understand where you're coming from. Muhammad Ali is one of those three fighters.
Who are the other two?
Oh, Sugar Ray Robinson, and man, well, four. I'll say five. Armstrong, Holyfield. Yeah, Armstrong, Holyfield, and what's his name?
I'm sorry. What's your point? You're mentioning fighters that what? Sorry?
That when people talk about them, I don't fully get why they talk about them, because like they show pretty much that they were cream of the crop, and they gave to the sport something that the sport has never seen before. And you know, that should be, because ultimately that's what puts you into the Hall of Fame, is your impact on the sport. It's not what your accomplishment you make in the ring.
It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is.
Your impact on the sport.
On that. Perfect. Right. Tell some of the other these goofies around these panels that they learn.
So Mayweather, not Mayweather, but Oscar De La Hoya is the other one. Now there are some fighters that I see that what they did in the ring gets sheep dipped on. When you was talking about there should have been 5 kings, there damn well should have been 5 kings. Honestly, if we're being honest, but I know you don't feel that way. If we're being honest, should have been 6, because there was another one around that weight class that didn't get the chance to get.
Barkley, right?
Huh?
Talking about Pride.
Barkley, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about yo boy from your neck of the town, and also Aaron Pryor. I believe that they two.
3 of them too. You know.
Not even Barkley. Dang it.
You know.
T.O., it's funny that you mentioned Oscar De La Hoya, because this is coming from a bit of bias, because you know, like it's just years and years of it, but you know, like but strictly boxing, and the way, you know, like a lot of people praise him is Oscar De La Hoya. I think he's extremely overrated, because like somebody mentioned, I think it might have been Irony. He literally lost all of his biggest fights. He didn't win not one. He didn't win not one.
No, that's not true, bro. I'm sorry, bro. No, that's not true. Oscar De La Hoya has one of the best wrestlers ever, bro.
And don't say Fernando.
Well, that's one, but Ike Fuerte.
People are. I'm not even going to give who I thought won the fight, but people are divided on who won that fight.
I think. Okay, let me tell. Okay, what about Shane Mosley?
He lost.
You thought Shane Mosley beat him twice? Honestly,
I thought he beat him the first time. I thought Oscar won the second.
Yeah,
got you.
That gave Oscar.
That's another one.
Yeah, but taking out all of our biases though, like he lost against Shane.
Okay, maybe, but okay, let me give you that one. So I thought Purnell got robbed against him. Same thing against Chow, but nevertheless, Mayorga.
Oh man, I forgot about Chavez and what he did to boxing. Shit, I forgot about him.
Mayorga was a huge fight because it has a lot of build up. I mean, they sold that fight really, really well, but a huge fight. I mean, who did you expect to win that fight going in?
No, I mean, obviously, the same thing with Vargas. I mean, you can't touch this dude. Maybe you like Fernando. I can't stand Fernando Vargas for many reasons, but he did win.
Fernando was a good fighter. He just was moving too fast.
Was an excellent fighter. Yeah, I mean, I liked him at the time.
Not really.
I hated Oscar.
Not really.
I liked him at the time because I hated Oscar, but I'm indifferent. I mean, I don't hate him. I don't love him. You know.
No, I can't stand them.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I definitely was rooting for Fernando over Oscar, but Oscar did get that
As was
butt.
I.
But I'm gonna say this though, man.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't have anything personal against him, so I see Fernando for a great fighter that just moved hella quick. Like he fought. If you go look at his resume, man, he was fighting hitter after hitter after hitter, damn near, man.
From
And
all
it
those
was
guys,
early in his
yeah.
career.
I would
respect
say,
all of them.
yeah, no, I
He was
respect.
tough
No,
as shit,
respect
bro.
is.
I must say.
Yeah, I know what
They
you
don't have
mean.
to earn,
I know what you
like
mean.
boxers don't.
I know
Boxers don't have to
exactly.
earn my respect. They get it off the
Right.
bat. My fandom, that's something different.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Big difference. Yeah.
I respect that
Got to go
statement.
on that. Yeah.
But
And
like
then
I said,
also,
go ahead.
no, you got it, Tio. No, you
No,
know me.
I'm overcutting you and overcutting Define at the same time, though. So let me shut up.
I was going to cover everybody, but I'll just say real quick, and then I can elaborate after y'all get their points off. But overrated fighters that I was going to mention, I think Derek Gainer was overrated.
Mhm.
Jermaine Taylor was overrated, and
Yeah, I agree with
what was
that.
That's the one.
Jermaine?
That's one.
I had one more that I was going to say that was overrated, but I forgot. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Jermaine.
Oh yeah, and to me, the number one
Honestly,
most
bro,
underrated of all time is Bernard Hopkins.
B Hop.
Maybe. I got one that you're not gonna like. You guys are not gonna like this. Lennox Lewis.
Why not?
You think he's overrated?
I do. I
Oh,
do.
wow.
I do too.
I think Vitaly beat him, and his
And he
two best
ducked him.
wins are two clearly
retired.
after prime legends.
Go ahead,
Holyfield
Define.
and Tyson.
Yeah, I
His
mentioned
two
he was
best wins,
underrated.
he's gonna break. No,
Yeah,
I think
which I
Lennox
do
Lewis
think-
is overrated.
Yeah, and I mentioned he was underrated, but I can actually make a strong case that he was overrated too, because like I did not like to watch him fight. I did not like to watch
Yeah.
Leslie Lewis fight. I didn't.
Absolutely. Fought in slow motion. He's 1-on-1 against Hassim Draman and Oliver McCall. He beat Tyson
Oliver
way past
McCall
his
was a
prime.
good
Holyfield
fighter.
way past his
Yeah.
prime.
Yeah,
Nah,
so I hear
that-
you. No,
that's it.
I totally understand. Yeah, and to me, in that same metric, Vladimir Klitschko is extremely overrated. If we're going by
Oh
that,
yeah.
That's extremely overrated. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
with you
man.
there. Right
Well,
with
he
you there.
dominated like a mother, man. Jesus.
Yeah, you gotta look
Yeah,
at
dominated people that you can't even remember, probably.
Some people
I
say that
remember
of
his
Tyson.
losses. I remember he lost to Ross Purity, and he lost to Lamont Brewster.
Corey
Jesus,
Sanders.
excuse me.
Corey Sanders.
Corey
Lamont
Sanders.
Brewster, I remember that fight. Wow, that was wild. I remember that.
Who was that?
Oleg Moskayev is extremely underrated, in my opinion, too.
Moscow.
A little bit.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
I thought he was overrated. I mean, underrated, excuse me. You know, he's a really good fighter.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
Got
thought
to jump
Lennox
4
was
times.
losing to Klitschko, right? When they had to stop the fight on cuts. Remember?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we-
to,
And then
with,
Lennox
Vitaly.
retired instead of giving him the rematch. Remember?
Yep.
And the Vitaly's underrated, too. I'm sorry.
Vitaly's very underrated, bro. That's a good
Yeah,
one. That's a very Vitaly's 10 times better than Vladimir. In my opinion.
Yeah.
would
I
pick
always thought that
Vitaly,
when
too.
they were fighting, I always thought he was a better brother. And but he messed up his shoulder versus I believe it was Chris
Bird.
Bird, and I
He
think
was
after
winning.
that he was not the same, but yeah, he was
Yeah.
just like kind of like yeah.
It was only
So-
too long
so-
he couldn't do the cut and that shoulder. He was winning both
Mhm.
fights. He could have been undefeated, you know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This is a hell of
And
a
I
stop.
thought Lennox went down a little when he, instead of giving Vitaly that rematch, he retired, man, you know? When the fight was stopped on cuts and Vitaly was winning, why not do the rematch?
I wasn't a big
No,
Lennox
no.
fan. I wasn't a big
Yeah.
Lennox
In
fan.
my eyes at that time, man, you know?
Ooh,
He
I got
retired.
one for you guys. Underrated boxer, really good boxer. God rest his soul, he died. O'Neal Bell is a cruiserweight.
O'Neal Bell.
O'Neal Bell.
Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't say
He
I
went
know who that
undisputed
is.
at cruiserweight.
Yeah. You never hear too much
Yeah.
about O'Neal.
Yeah, he fought Gene Mormek a couple times
Mm-hmm.
for the titles.
Yeah, I remember him.
Ooh, you want to know who's super overrated? He was a Canadian boxer. Well, no, was he British? No, I'm thinking two of them. There was a British boxer, and they almost looked alike. What was their name?
I think I know who you're gonna say. Joe Kawasaki, right?
Nah, Kawasaki. Nah, Kawasaki, I believe is underrated. Extremely underrated.
Oh,
Nobody talks about that.
appreciate that.
Like whoever, like every now and then somebody will bring up Kawasaki, and it's usually for praise. And then when
Me,
like people are
me,
like,
me.
oh yeah, yeah.
Listening to him Friday. I just did a
Kazagi, he was
profile on him Friday, last Friday.
One of my favorite fighters ever.
yeah. I saw that cast was a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Kawasaki, another extremely underrated fighter, in my opinion, is Chris Eubank Sr.
Senior.
Oh, that's
Chris
a
Eubank
good
Sr.
one, bro.
Yeah. And me personally, I have him as the best super middleweight ever. That's just me.
I have him behind Kawasaki. Obviously, Kawasaki beat him.
Yeah. Kawasaki beat him. Yeah. Just me personally, man. It's just like,
Yeah, because
No, that's good.
That was early too.
Even if you had Nigel Benn, I'd be like,
That was his first title.
Nigel
wasn't it?
Ben was underrated too. Nigel Ben was underrated too. Yeah.
When that Kazaki's first title when he beat Eubanks, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's what he won his
Where
title.
do you have Triple G? Where do you have Triple G?
He's up there, top 5.
So
Top 5
definitely underrated then, right?
Underrated, yeah, because like people knew him, but like, man, they still shit on him to this day.
He wasn't from a boxing country, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's what you got Canelo up there that's from a boxing country. So,
what about Sergio Mora? Where do you have Sergio Mora?
Overrated.
Yeah,
I thought he was, but I thought Sergio Martinez was underrated, extremely
Ooh,
underrated.
extremely underrated, man.
The problem with Maravilla, there's one of my favorite fighters ever also. The problem with Maravilla is that his run was too short-lived. He was a late bloomer. Like, if Maravilla would have been like that at 25, 28 or something, like, there's another case of a fighter getting his big fight late in their 30s. So I think that's why he's not there, but skill-wise, yeah, he should be there.
Yeah. Well, Sergio Martinez, he's what everybody thinks Bud Crawford is. Like, everybody say, oh yeah, Bud Crawford was like denied this, denied that.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's some truth to it, and I think a lot of it's a lot of cap from the Bud fans. But Sergio Martinez was actually like the WBC like actually was doing all kinds of things for Chavez Jr. and they did Sergio pretty well.
Yeah. Bro, that
Sergio
last
Martinez was the mother truth, bro. That dude was lightning in the bottle. He used to put people lights out.
Margarito got him young. He had a lot of Margarito when he was still like a prospect / getting to the contender status, and he got him really good. Like, you can tell, like, that wasn't nowhere near the Maravilla that whole Williams got. Otherwise,
yeah, no, that's prime. Yeah. The different. I mean, I wouldn't say different fighters still had the style, but yeah, it's like not the seasoned vet that knocked out that put Paul Williams to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if I don't like a fighter, I still like care about him. But when it comes to Margarito,
he caught Paul with that overhand left.
I can't stand
man.
One shot knockout, one hit a quitter.
It showed it too.
Who's extremely underrated? But people probably will say that I'm crazy. Nonito Donaire.
You say overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because he's got his fans, he's got his popularity, but not as what it should be. And like people
he's always in Manny's battle,
Excellent boxer.
Yeah,
he's
but also
by Manny a lot of the time.
My thing with Nonito is he's a legend, but he also had some shady performances. The Gondor fight, that was awful, bro. Like, he got his ass beat. And the Nicholas Waltz fight. Like, he's had some shady performances.
Which fight?
That's my opinion. Nonito Donaire versus Gondor and against Nicholas Waltz.
Oh, Walters. Yeah, well, Walters, man. I'm like, nobody saw that one coming, bro. But damn, Walters is gone. Like, Walters, after that fight, bro, I don't know if they blackballed him or what, but he just had a fight, got knocked out. No, he actually quit. I don't think he's coming back.
I wanted to go back to Oliver McCall, bro. I thought that Oliver McCall was a very great talent. He just had trouble upstairs, bro. Yeah. Like, if he didn't have that trouble upstairs, he had everything.
Yeah, he got depressed in the ring, right? That's the guy that started crying and stuff, bro.
Yeah, I mean, he had everything, bro. Bro could jab, he can counterpunch, hit you with that hammer. He worked your body.
Kind of like an Andrew Golota, where he had everything except this.
Yeah.
Exactly, but
And it's
different.
unfortunate.
But different because like at least Oliver McCall got some big wins.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? And then the one that he cried, like literally, like in the like literally, I don't remember saying like 30-second snippet that he actually was like fighting, and then he just decided to like slag the fight off. He was like putting some hands on Lennox.
He was putting hands on him, bro. He just broke
And then
down.
Lennox didn't
For the
even touch
second
him.
time.
And even when it was like quitting, he's like he was walking around the ring, like kind of turning his back, like he was like, you know, because he was still move out the way, like Lennox couldn't even touch him. That's crazy.
This was back in the time when mental health awareness wasn't anywhere near what it is today. And that part of it.
And I mean, a lot of people disrespect him because of that, bro. Like they don't truly understand. Like the man wasn't right. Like what man does something like that?
He probably had no business even in there, you know, in that frame of mind he was in.
And as Poro said, it wasn't because he just was getting hands put on him. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
No.
Coming into the fight, you know, with some kind of issues.
We're all human, you know. That guy, you know,
right.
All boxers have issues. To take punches for a living, you're
They're
crazy,
people, bro.
They're human beings too, though. Yeah, he had something going on with him, you know. And
No. That right there is really something that needs to be overstated. We are humans who take. They are humans who take punches on a day.
There's something wrong with him already.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I love him. I respect him, and I love him. But yeah, there's something wrong with him.
And then you're coming into the fight.
You're talking, Mike.
It's tough.
And before I forget, I said Bernard Hopkins was my number one, but I just remembered this is like one of my all-time favorite fighters, and he's like 1A, 1B with Bernard. George Paez. George Paez is extremely underrated, bro.
Underrated, okay.
El Mero Paez.
El Mero, yeah. Watch the Pernell Whitaker versus Mero Paez. Even though he lost that fight,
the
fight
watch
was
that.
extremely close, and it was like Sweet Pea at his best, and Paez. It was, oh my god, that fight was great.
Yeah,
I watch that fight like once a year.
I'm gonna watch
that fight like once a year.
Me too. Yeah, I'm writing it down now.
That was a war right there.
Yeah, that's what Sweet Pea. A lot of people don't know. Lightweight Sweet Pea. He wasn't a clown or like clowning around and doing all the defensively. No, he was like he was like I don't even know how to describe it. Like he'd be right in front of you, make you miss, make you pay.
Yeah. The art what they apply to a lot of fighters, certain fighters today, he literally was the embodiment of. Like he would be there and right there for you, and you could not hit him.
Exactly.
He wasn't jumping, flying. He wasn't doing all this stuff. It was right in front of you, and you could not hit him. And like I was telling, somebody got mad at me the other day because I was like, "Yo, back foot dominance at its finest, personified. You can do that." And it's Pernell Whitaker. He dictated the fight on the back foot.
He could almost bend over backwards where the average person bend over forward, man. You know?
He can get you to do what he wanted on the back foot.
Yeah.
It's almost like being aggressive on the back foot. He mastered that. There's some people who master that.
But like I was saying, that was version 2, though, in my opinion. Like version 1, like I was saying, lightweight version of Sweet Pea, he went forward as well. He went forward as well.
Okay.
He was literally the complete boxer. He can fight going forwards, backwards.
Oh, you have
any which way.
You have no arguments here, man. I love me some Pernell Whitaker, bro. I love me some Pernell Whitaker. You know what I'm saying? I saw a fight where, you know, I fully believed he won. I fully believed he won. And you know, he was given a loss. I saw a fight where I fully believed he won, and he was given a draw.
Oh, okay.
Pernell got robbed a couple of times. Chavez, I even had Mexicans agree with me, bro. Like Mexicans, like the objective ones will be like, Chavez didn't win that fight, and also Oscar.
It was a draw, right? They called it a draw, right? That one.
Yeah, I didn't think Chavez won that fight either. But like throughout the years that I've watched it more and more, like when I first saw it when I was a kid, when I was younger, like obviously the first time live, like I thought like everybody got robbed. But more and more that I watch it, I don't think he won, but the draw, like I still think Pernell won, but the draw doesn't seem
that far fetched.
Like that far fetched. I mean, I'm like in it, but like, and I don't like, I don't say like, I don't make that argument. Like, I won't have a debate on it because I don't think I don't have enough strong of an argument to make that debate.
Right.
But like, I like, you know, like more and more I watch the fight over the years. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, like I get why the judges could have gave it a draw, even though I still don't agree with the draw. But yeah, I definitely don't think Travis.
Yeah.
Won. And I'm Mexican.
Yeah.
And that's literally my favorite fighter. You know, I wish.
So no. Who Cesar Chavez your favorite fighter?
Of course.
Okay, so then that makes this beautiful right now. How did you feel about the stoppage between him and Elder Taylor?
It was a good stoppage. Most people think it's a good stoppage. I only like a select few think it was a bad one, in my humble opinion, that I've talked to.
Honestly, bro, the only reason why, I don't know if it's the only, but maybe the main reason why I would say it's the bad stoppage is because of how much, 5 seconds left or something. But
It was
I don't
it
think
was
the
2
referee.
seconds left.
But let me ask you this then: is the referee's job to take that into account? Because I don't think it is.
No, it's not.
So on that regard, bro, like
This is the referee's account. I can see
don't
you
like
arguing
saying
that
this.
way.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
like to say this at all. It pains me to say this. I think it was a good stop. Bro. I hate to say it because I feel for many others, bro. But yeah, I think it was a good stop.
I think that because he dominated the fight so much, if he was going to lose, it should have been by a knockout. It shouldn't have been by the referee's decision. So if he's going to lose, he should have got knocked out. So if he can't get up and hold off for however long, even if the ref don't know, if he can't help in that final round, when he dominated every other round, he should at least be now the chance to lose it. Like on his what they say on his shield. And I think that your boy Chavez, if he's gonna win it, after being dominated the whole fight long, he should win it in like fashion. It would have been more epic that way. But I mean, I'm not mad at it now because, you know, hindsight.
And I see your perspective, T Hill. Like if you're coming from like what Meldrick would have been feeling, like yeah, I see that perspective, but like coming from the perspective of like just the referee and the fight and what transpired and all that, and being a boxing nerd that I know that he violated no rules. At the end of the day, it's a judgment call. Like he did everything
You're right
by
about
the
that.
book.
Yeah,
He did everything by the book. He did the count by the book.
Yeah.
What happened?
No, I was saying that the referee doesn't have the luxury of to replay or anything like that for the decision.
And say he did, it still would have been on his judgment or the judgment of somebody else. At the end of the day, it's gonna if there was instant replay, it's gonna be somebody had to make that call, yay or nay. And unfortunately,
I think somebody did make the call though. I think somebody did make the call, bro. I think they made the call like, hey, look, he ain't get if we give him a judgment in his favor with him losing all of these rounds, like literally, you can only give him that last round and maybe the round before it. Then it's going to look bad if we give it to Julio Cesar Chavez. And that was a moment that happened where, we got a way out. It looked that way, man, because he was dominating the fight so much, and he just only in that last bit of moment was it bad for him. Let him get knocked out.
Yeah, let him go out on the shield, bro. Like.
So that's only why I say it that way. Let him get knocked out. It looked like they put in the call, just like they put in the call when what's her name wasn't looking so good, and they wanted to keep him for another fight. So they stopped the fight.
Well, the thing is that but the thing is, like, I know a lot of people say that he dominated, and most people say that Mexicans, like most of the boxing community say, like, Meldrick Taylor was dominating the fight for like I don't know how many rounds. But at the end of the day, I think it's a bit misleading because, like if it was a sheer domination, like Meldrick wouldn't have got like literally beat to a pulp the way he did. You get what I'm saying? Like I think when I hear at least that he dominated the fight, like it takes away kind of like what Chavez did in that fight, that he was getting his he was getting his socks boxed off, but even with all of those punches coming and him losing rounds, him knowing he's losing rounds, and I've seen numerous interviews that he didn't even want to come out for the 12th. He wanted to throw up and go to the locker room, but not his coach, but this guy named El Buffalo, he's dead now. I think it was the second. He did like a little speech, like the Manuel Stewart, Teddy Atlas type thing. And he's like, all right, cool. And he went out and the rest is history. You get what I'm saying? But like literally yeah, Meldrick Taylor, like, should he have won the fight? Well, if he would have made it to the last 2 seconds. And there's a lot of questions. Like literally it's been dissected. Like it happened in 1990 on St. Patrick's Day. It's been years, and I've dissected it. That's probably one of the 5 fights I've seen like literally millions of times. Like I don't even remember the last time I've seen it. Well, maybe last year, something like that. But anyway, I get everybody's perspective. I don't think anybody's wrong unless you're being like unreasonable.
Yeah. Only question I had was this: how much more damage could have been done in 2 more seconds? If any damage was done, it should have been stopped way before that. How much more could he do to the man in 2 seconds?
Some say, Cass, and this is
But
some opinions that I've heard.
The problem with that, Cass, is that unfortunately the referee cannot take that into account when making a decision. I struggle with this so much.
Hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Can you hear this?
That's it. It's over.
Do you hear that though?
Oh yeah.
They do that, so they know that in that moment it's 10 seconds. Right. So no matter what, he knows that it's almost close to the end because they pound the hell out that canvas when it's on. Now I'm gonna let Kaz ask his question and let you finish your answer. But I know Kudo is about to answer it.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking, also has that flashing red light to signal 10 seconds remaining in the round. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just wondering. It was 2 seconds. If anything was done it would have been done. 2 more seconds. How much more could you do in 2 seconds? If you let it get that far down, you might as well just let it go.
Well, I mean, but to the point of Chavez, there could be a punch that land because he can't not defend himself. Right. That could really put him in a coma or some stuff like that. So there is precedent.
That's what I was asking. Yeah. Okay.
For it, the likelihood of it. I mean. Well, on average, like they say, 12 people to 13 people die a year.
Let me ask you guys something, right? If Puro is, let me put it if I'm fighting T-Hill, and T-Hill's got me dead on my feet, right? And Puro is the referee, and Puro takes a peek to see how much time is left, and then makes the call based on that. If you're gonna get like the worst backlash ever, right?
I agree. I would believe so, especially if I'm beating you, but you are the name on this card. Like the name of me fails in comparison to the name of you, and the money that is beyond this fight is because of your name. Yeah, there'll be some comparison for sure. I mean, it's not comparison, but criticism for
Analogy?
sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'd be some criticism for sure. And I mean, I'm not asking for that, bro. I mean, all I'm asking for is in that moment, since the fight, and to Puro's point, I think the breakdown for Mildred happened in round 8 with a body shot. Was it round 8 or round 7? He started taking more body shots, and I think that's where all the pain really was taking place because he was tearing his body up. And that's what allowed for him to get that last second, the last second's knockdown because he was attacking the body from eight on in.
And Richard Steele said he didn't respond. Yeah. All he had to do was respond. He probably wouldn't have stopped it, but he said Meldrick didn't respond when he
didn't say a word. Even when he stopped it, he
didn't
say a word.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He didn't respond. I mean, he was spent, bro. He was. Right. They said he was swallowing. He was swallowing blood from or whatever was going on from the body shot.
And he
Is it
literally
fair?
like got like an inch from his face, looked in his eyes, said,
Yeah.
"Are you okay?" again,
Yeah,
and he literally looked
yeah.
the other
Now
way.
let me ask you guys something. Let me ask you guys
So,
something.
I don't know.
This
That's the
is a
tough.
question that I really struggle with.
Mhm.
Is if there were more time left, it wouldn't be so controversial, right?
No,
No doubt. If it was more time left, I think he would have been knocked out. But you
Yeah,
hear what I'm saying?
he wouldn't have
He would
made
have gotten knocked
we
out.
wouldn't be
10
talking. We
seconds.
wouldn't be
He
talking
wouldn't have
about
made
this.
10 more seconds
Oh,
worth.
okay.
If there was
He
10 more
would have.
seconds, we would not be talking about this.
He wouldn't have
Yeah, if
we'd
it was
be
Yeah,
10
talking
yeah.
more
about it.
seconds,
Right.
we would not be
We
talking
wouldn't be
about this.
talking
He
about it.
would have been knocked
We would not be
out.
talking about it.
And that's all I'm saying. If he gonna lose,
Without
let
on
it
the
be
speed for
because
sure.
my man just knocked him out. Hey, yo, you know what? You came back. You had a hell of a comeback. You showed why you were champion.
Right.
Don't. To me, it taints the victory for him too. Like, dog, I was awarded this because for at least eight of the 10, 8 of the 12 round. Was that 12 or 15?
12.
12.
I don't remember.
Eight of the
12,
12.
wasn't
Oh,
it?
Yeah, I think it was 12. So
Yeah,
eight
Yeah,
of the
12.
12 rounds. I mean, for sure. I mean, I'd say 9 of the 12 rounds for sure. Mildred won those rounds. I forgot which
yeah.
round. I know it was either eight or 9. Chavez definitely won one of those rounds. I forgot which one it was. But for the most part, he came back, controlled it, and then 11 and 10. I mean, 11 and 12 was just tough for him.
Yeah.
11 was like the beginning of he got to hold on. And then 12 was, oh shoot, it was the last seconds, and it is what it is. I mean, it doesn't take away from Chavez's greatness because Chavez is great,
And it
Yeah.
doesn't
and
take
that's
away
why I
from his
say I have
victory either
problems.
because he didn't get awarded anything.
Huh?
Like it doesn't take away from his like say like most of the people that say it was a bad stoppage is true. Everybody agrees on it. Like it still doesn't take away from any merit from what Chavez did in there because Chavez was
No,
the
without
one
a
doing it.
doubt. Without a
You get
doubt.
what I'm
No, you're
saying?
absolutely right about that.
You know.
Absolutely. Oh,
And
come
then
on.
also you got to point out that the corner has much to do with what occurred in the last round than Richard or just has more or just the same to do with what occurred in the last round than Richard Steele does, because like you say he was up comfortably. All he had to do, he could have he could have done what
That's
Floyd did a
Yeah.
few times in his fight.
Yeah.
In the 12th,
Yeah.
he knew he had it in the
a
bag.
good point
He would just
there.
circle the ring. He really didn't do nothing in the
Like
12th.
like
He could have done
Oscar
that.
like Oscar
I
did with
agree with that
Tito. Like Oscar did
100%,
with Tito
Polo.
Yeah,
Trinidad.
exactly.
In the
He
last
could have
round.
done that. But Lou Duva
Yep.
told him the fight is hanging
Yep.
on this round here,
He
Mel.
sure
You got to
did.
go take it to him.
Mhm.
And
Oh, I
then
didn't
in
know
the
that.
post-fight interview, Lou Duva,
Yes.
yeah,
I
watch the
heard that.
documentary. It's a great
Sure too.
documentary. And then Lou Duva after
Yeah.
the fight says, no, like run, move, pretend you're Muhammad Ali. But like on video, he's saying is like, Mel, we need a strong
Yep.
effort here. The fight
He
hangs.
told me
You
to go
want
out there
to
and fight
like
him.
they were all telling him he needed that round. So that's why he
Yep.
came out and fought that
I
round.
heard that too, Puro. He sure did.
I love Luduva, but I don't think I like him anymore.
Yeah. I heard that
No,
too.
I mean, from his perspective, like a lot of people, like most people, like literally everybody I've talked to, like, they're like, especially they're Mexican, yeah, man, it was the greatest fight. He beat him in the last seconds. But then, most people say, Meldrick Taylor was winning that fight easy on points. But maybe from Lou Duva's perspective and the rest of the corner, maybe they thought it was close.
Yeah,
Well,
that was the advice he gave him. Yeah, it sure was.
Yep.
Well, it's not that they thought it was close. It's just the fact that, hey, yo, this is the man. This is the money behind him, bro. We can say what we want, but we know when money is behind a certain individual, they're gonna make sure that decision looks a certain way. And he ain't walking out of there with a win unless he put him definitively on that canvas. We got to put him on that canvas. And in the process, he got put on the canvas. But hey, man, I mean, it was a tremendous fight, nonetheless. Because, like I say, to say not De La Hoya, but Chavez wasn't doing anything in the fight, that would be an absolute lie. I would never say that.
Yeah,
No.
and I think that takes a narrative out that he was the money. Because like, if it was like he lumped them up good, but he won like a few rounds. Like, okay, yeah, he was the money. That's why they gave it to him. But this like he put in work in that fight. Like he had to get it out. He had to dig deep.
Yeah. That will always be debated. That's one of those fights, man. You know, that's what makes the
But
sport
if
so
it goes to the cards, it
people ain't even
justifiably
born yet.
should have
We'll
been
be talking about that
It
one
should have been.
years
It should
from
have been
now.
No,
awarded to
if it goes to
Melvin
the
Taylor.
cards, it's Meldrick Taylor all the way. Like everybody knows that. Like they said he would have won a split decision. You know what I'm saying?
And that's even crazy that it would have been a split decision. 'Cause he
Well, that's
was
what I'm
winning
saying.
a
That's what I'm saying.
lot
It's all about
around.
perspective. Lou Duva, I would say it's safe to say Lou Duva thought it was a close fight. One of
No,
the judges thought it was a close fight because they awarded one of the cards went to Chavez. The only one that the only people that think is that's most of the fans think that fight was not close on the cards.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's no insult to Chavez whatsoever, bro.
No. I mean, everybody knew that. Like Nacho Beristain says it all the time in the interviews I've seen. He bet against Chavez in that fight.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't.
He said he lost like he said he lost like $50,000 on Meldrick Taylor or something like that.
Damn, Nacho better get something. Wow.
Yeah. But he said that in the 12th, like he was like rooting for him to get the knockout or whatever or something. I don't know. Like sometimes Nacho Beristain be embellishing some certain things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's old. He is like 90 something.
Is he still living? Nacho?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still living. He still trains fighters.
He's like 90 something. Ooh.
Yeah. Ray Vargas was a fighter at one point.
Luduva?
He's still training?
No, not Lou Duva. Lou Duva's dead.
You said Nacho's still training?
Yes.
Wow.
Who?
Nacho
Beristain.
Yeah.
Juan
Oh, Nacho Beristain. Yeah. He's still alive.
He's still training too. Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
I think he had a fighter that fought Mark Maxio last year or something like that. You know, like I remember like the little build up they had is that it was like because Freddie Roach was training the guy Mark Maxio.
He must still keep himself active then, and he must be
in the gym. I'm assuming.
Yeah, he must still be doing some stuff, eating right too, man. He probably eating healthy, yeah, and making sure he don't put that added that stuff that got the damn preservation up in it. But man, hey, yo, it's 2:00. I know you gotta go, Cass.
Yeah.
And I know Just Do was on, man. So no, this was a good conversation. I enjoyed this, man.
That's a great conversation.
Appreciate y'all, fellas. 100%.
I'm wasting my time over
Appreciate you.
You said what?
No, I'm just throwing a shot at Dub.
Yeah.
No, I'm just throwing a shot at Dub. I love my boy Dub.
Appreciate y'all though, man.
No, appreciate you, Cass. Thank you for having me on, brothers. Peace out.
No, I don't go nowhere yet, man. Go on and close us out.
I thought you guys were leaving.
No, we are. We're saying close us out. We got last words.
Oh, thank you for having me, Cass. As always, it was a great conversation. Man, I could talk about, especially nowadays, bro, especially the last weekend that we had. I can talk about the old school fighters all day long. But anyway, thank you for having me as always. God bless, and I'll go ahead and whoever's next.
Appreciate you. You fine, Arnie?
No worries.
God bless you, fellas. Always a pleasure speaking with y'all. Thank you for having me on also. And see y'all next time.
Okay, appreciate you. And you get the last word, Tito. You're going to take us on home. Thomas Hill.
Again, man, another wonderful show. Another one in the vault where you can dig into the vault and find out about fighting from a boxer's perspective and point of view. We got the most hated, we got the most appreciated, we got the ones who really had one-hit wonders, and we had some that were overrated and some that were so underrated, and we had takes and opinions on it, man. We want to thank a wonderful panel, man. We had my man Puerto Sur always coming up here speaking his mind. We had Define Irony always coming up here giving his good advisement and his opinions. Man, we had Cass Sports the Boxtorian in the chat, man. We was live. We had Aunt McQueen, the ubiquitous and loquacious one, Mr. Grandy. We had Mike Mazik, the champ, Just Do Boxing. Speaking of which, after you're here, if you're still listening, segue on over to Just Do Boxing, where you can get boxing critique, you can get boxing conversation, you can get boxing appreciation from an unbiased point of view, and then you can always get boxing that Just Do. You got Frank Jagger coming in here. We had Al Booger, the professor. you know, we had Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz and more, so much more. Go on and subscribe to the great brother Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz and more. Shout out to my main man Mike Mazik. Shout out to Crush, the Mickey Fricky Legend, aka the Grumpy OG, aka the Master of Ceremonies. D for the win. D for the win, my guy. That if you send him to the wolves, he'll come back leading the pack. Shout out to my guy Ray Patterson from Jersey. They call him RP, Jersey up in here. Shout out Mrs. Just Do, queen of the family holding it down. Shout out to Mrs. Cash, the better half. And shout out to you if you were just watching but did not chat. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscription button. Every now and again, put a little something in the chat, man. We love to talk. Right here, it's a discussion. It's not a debate. We just discuss what we love, and we recognize that there's all sides of views that we can entertain, and maybe we can see things from a different perspective. Likewise, if you ain't become a member, think about becoming a member. Right here, you get all that good talk at 2:00 Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. And then, if you just watching and you ain't said nothing, you ain't commented, man, just recognize that, hey, you can always spin the block. And next time you can click that link, next time you can say in that chat, and we can stimulate some good conversation. Because here at Cash Sports Boxing, you know, talk, you got the box story, and you know, he has all the records of every good fight that was up in there. And we can talk, discuss, and we can see where boxing meets the mind. And you can only do that here at Cash Sports Boxing. So shout out to Cash Sports, the box story. You guys have a wonderful day. God bless. Keep yourselves protected. Keep yourselves in love. Keep yourselves in good spirits. And remember, man, it's easier to smile than it is to frown. And it's easier to show love than it is to show hate. And sometimes when you show hate, it's just that you are misguided in your ways and you just don't know how to show the love that you really meant to show. So spread love, man. And that, I'm named Thomas Hill. I'm just a peon up on this thing talking amongst mental giants, man. And I'm trying to find my way. Help me find my way. You guys have a wonderful day. And I'm out.